Shuffler is suing his half-brother, Jonathan Doucette, for damages from an assault in a moving vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please. Kevin?
Hello, Judge. Case 3101, Chauffeur versus Duquette.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chauffeur, the defendant is your much younger half-brother.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
40.
And you, sir?
23.
And from what I gather from the papers, your mom died 3 years ago?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were living with her at the time?
No, I was not. I was actually staying in my own rental place in the same hometown of Eunice, Louisiana.
Were you working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did there come a point when you stopped working?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
It was shortly after my relocation to Arcadia, Florida, and I was out of work for several months.
So you relocated shortly after your mom died. In Florida, is that where your brother lived?
No, he lives on South Beach.
But also in Florida?
Yes.
And when you moved to Florida, from what I gather from the papers, things didn't go well for you. You lost your job. And your brother asked you if you wanted to come and live with him, at least temporarily.
Yes, ma'am.
You would say that's nice of him.
Yes, ma'am.
And who does your brother live with?
His best friend, Ivan.
And Ivan was okay with it?
Yes, ma'am.
So in what month and year did you pack up your things from Arcadia and move in with your brother?
I actually do not have an exact recollection of that date and time.
It was November of 2020.
So right in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of house does your brother have? House, apartment?
It's a condo.
How many bedrooms?
1.
Where did you sleep?
On the sofa.
So it was clear then that you're a grown man, he's a grown man, he's got a roommate. I assume you split the costs of the apartment with the roommate?
He's my partner.
Do you split the costs?
No.
You don't? Who pays the rent?
He does. He pays the mortgage and everything.
So he pays all of the expenses. By the way, how was your partner with your brother moving in?
He was happy with him coming. I mean, because, you know, he thought it would be good for me and that it would be good for him because where he was living before, he was not living in very good conditions and not with a very good person. And from the day that I met the person he was living with before, I said, he's got to go. I didn't want him there anymore, you know? So when the opportunity presented itself, I asked him to come live with me, and he came.
Okay. So we were staying on the couch. There's one bedroom, and I assume that you weren't contributing to any of the household finances.
I have a monthly rent of $300.
So you pay them $300?
A month, yes.
And when did that start?
It was about a year and a half after when I had picked up my first job.
Okay, so you lived there rent-free, and they covered your expenses for a year and a half.
Yes.
Nice. But then, what I gather from reading these papers, things started to get sticky, because I assume you knew that this was not a permanent arrangement, sleeping on a couch. You knew that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not the way, you know, you live in a one-bedroom apartment sleeping on the couch. It was supposed to be temporary. And I gather things got a little testy, because you ever heard of the old adage that fish and company start to smell after 3 days? Ever hear that?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, now we're into your third year. And you both acknowledge that there was some arguing in the house after a period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Between the two of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What about his partner?
His partner was not involved in the argument.
My partner he wouldn't tell him anything, but he would come to me anytime he did anything that he didn't like. I would have to hear about it.
Okay. He's your brother, you take care of him.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
So there had been one such argument, and then from what I'm reading, you had a doctor's appointment.
Yes, ma'am.
And there had been a little episode maybe the night before or the day before, so you thought maybe it would be a good idea for your brother to drive to the doctor's appointment where you could have a discussion with him.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was on the 15th of May of 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
So you want to tell me what happened that morning and getting into the car, because it is your claim that your brother assaulted you and physically injured you during the course of that car ride to the doctor. That's what this case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I was a little upset with Johnny because the night before he was yelling and cursing at me with the door open, and some of my neighbors came outside and they were looking at us and they were like, what's going on? And that became kind of common with him because he likes to yell and scream. I'm a very soft-spoken person. I don't yell and scream even when I'm mad. I stay very calm. And, my partner was complaining to me, and we were kind of at odds with each other because of this over the last few years. I mean, when he comes home, he doesn't even talk He just goes straight to his bedroom and closes the door, like
Who?
my partner does.
Oh.
Like he wasn't even talking to me. He was, very angry with me because of this, because he blames me in a way for how he behaved.
Okay.
Stephen Shuffler claims his half-brother, Jonathan Doucette, assaulted him when he was driving, resulting in a permanent scar.
So you're going to a hematology appointment. Did you ask your brother to join you, or did he?
He wanted to come. He insisted on coming because he didn't want to be left home alone. And he usually would accompany me to the doctor's office anyway. Like, he would most always come with me. Even if we were not arguing, it didn't make a difference. He would almost always come with me. And so we started driving, and when we were in the express lane, and there's no way to stop in the express lane because there's no shoulder, when he opened the door and was saying he was going to jump out of the car.
No, but you were arguing before that.
What I was telling him, I told him is basically that Ivan had had enough and that I had enough and that he needed to move out. He needed to go back to his family in Louisiana, or he needed to make some other arrangement because I couldn't take the stress anymore. I had health problems at the time.
Is that what he told you?
Yes, ma'am.
I just couldn't take it anymore because of the stress.
How did you respond to that?
Not well.
Tell me what you did.
We were having a discussion about what had happened the night before, after he had talked about him and Ivan having an issue with me. I mean, at the point of I wanted to go with him to the doctors to smooth this over. And more or less, it was to the point where he was just verbally berating me at that point, and it was...
Did he tell you that both he and his partner wanted you to move and find a suitable place to live?
Yes.
And when he told you that, and you reacted badly, did you try to open the car door?
Yes, ma'am. It was only a ruse, though. I just wanted him to stop.
That was in your mind, that it was only a ruse. You asked him to stop. Your brother said, can't stop here, it's in an express lane. You're on a highway?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're going at least 50, 60 miles an hour on Parkway. And you went to open the car door. I'm going to ask you, at that point, you're pretending, but he doesn't know that you're pretending to open the car door. I want you to tell me what happened, Mr. Doucette.
Well, when I opened the car door in order to make an attempt to have him cease the verbal beating that he was giving me, he reached over, and in my perspective, I thought he was violently grabbing me, and I acted on impulse.
How did he grab you? By the shirt, by the hair?
Elbow.
So you're driving,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I assume his right hand grabbed you like this. Is that right? And grabbed your left elbow.
Yes, ma'am.
And your reaction was to hit him.
Yes, ma'am.
So you took your right hand and hit him. Where did you hit him?
In between his eyebrows.
Did the car stop?
No.
Kept going?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
I imagine it was hardly 15 to 20 minutes before we got him to the hospital.
Well, you got him to the hospital because he was bleeding?
Yes, ma'am. Profusely.
Do you have the hospital report, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, because we already then have the fact that he put his hand on you, in all probability, to stop you because he thought you were going to jump out of the car. Your reaction was to punch him. That's what happened. It's not so crazy unusual. There's a bad cut there. Was that just from your hand, or did you have a ring on or something? That's a
ma'am.
pretty bad cut, so that's pretty powerful.
It was my knuckle bone.
No, that's a pretty devastating blow. You're lucky you could drive.
Yeah.
Well, it was clearly, Mr. Doucette, an assault on your brother, and he was clearly injured. That's what the basis of this case is. When did you move out?
Almost 2 months after.
When did he move out?
It was a few months later. It was like maybe in October, the beginning of October, or September or October.
When did you file this case?
A few months ago, like in October, I think. I filed it with the court just a few weeks ago, actually. I thought you meant with you guys.
Is what you're saying that you filed this case
Just
to
after
appear
New
before
Year's.
me in October, and then you filed it in court sometime more recently?
Yeah, in January, the beginning of January.
In court?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have medical insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the medical insurance covered most of your medical bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any payment beyond that?
I had to go to Pensacola to visit a plastic surgeon that I'm friends with to see if there was anything he could do for me. I went to see him twice, and basically he gave me silicone gel to put on the scar. He's a good friend of mine, and so he didn't charge me anything.
Okay. You don't see it, really. As you get older, you find that you look at yourself a little less, or you put the mirror a little farther away. You don't see these little things, otherwise you would have nightmares and be up all night. So you stayed home for a couple of months. How was the couple of months that you spent before you moved out after the assault?
I felt terrible.
I assume that you did. Where are you living now?
In West Palm Beach,
Good. With whom?
shelter.
Is that the shelter that you moved into when you moved out of the condo?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you working?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what the shelter is like, Mr. Doucette.
Just very nice people, generally keep to themselves. I keep to myself, and
Have your own room?
I share a room with another person there.
Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You see a doctor regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
Weekly?
Weekly. Yes, ma'am.
Weekly. Through the shelter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I also see a therapist weekly through the shelter.
That's what I was talking about.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. All right, good. So it sounds as if you're in a reasonable place now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So you acknowledge how badly you felt after this assault. It was really an unprovoked assault. He was probably trying to pull you back so that you wouldn't hurt yourself. Because I have a feeling that your brother loves you a great deal. But you're probably better off outside of somebody else's social situation, by yourself, whether it's by yourself at a shelter or hopefully someday in a place of your own.
Stephen Shuffler claims his half-brother, Jonathan Doucette, assaulted him when he was driving, resulting in a permanent scar.
In any event, you understand, Mr. Schaeffler, that I'm going to issue a judgment in your favor, but it's not going to be a crippling judgment against your brother. I think that he understands that what he did was wrong. You're entitled to a monetary award. You had some pain and suffering. Certainly you understand what his situation is. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I caused my brother unnecessary suffering. I mean, at least he got a little bit of something for it, as opposed to the hell and grief I gave him.
He needed something to happen to him to get him to see reason and behave himself, you know, because he's kind of out of control.
A lot of pain. It's bleeding everywhere, and it was not good.
I wasn't verbally assaulting him or berating him. I was just telling him, you know, you really need to leave my house. You need to go because I can't deal with you anymore and the drama that you make and the trouble that you cause, you know.
I just want him to know I love him and I'm sorry.
I don't know that that he's changed his mentality or his way of thinking and behaving. I mean, he says that, but he always would tell me that, and then he would go back to doing the same things right after.
Only time will tell.
Yes, there is a chance to put the relationship back together.
I felt so sad for both of those brothers. Clear that the defendant has issues. His brother seems like a very nice young man and really tried very hard to help his brother.
One incident, though, can turn it all
Okay,
sour.
well, you know, I really don't think it did, Sarah. The defendant said he felt terrible. I said, how did you feel? It was 2 months. He said, I felt terrible. He knew he had just lost it for that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they love each other.
Seems like he's on the path to getting the help that he needs and getting on the right track, though. So that's at least positive to see.
Sad. But I think he has a supportive family. I still think that he's supportive of him,
Sure.
which is very mature, very grown up, and for the defendant, very lucky.
Yeah.
Case 3093, Scott versus Scott. All parties, please come forward.
Tanisha Scott is suing her niece, Sierra Scott, for travel costs from Sierra's negligence.
Miss Scott, this is your niece. Is she your sister's daughter or your brother's daughter?
My sister's daughter,
How old are you?
47,
How old is she?
27 now.
So this is what the case is about. The family was planning a trip to Disney in Florida.
Yes.
How many people were going?
7 people, not including the children.
7 adults.
Yes.
Tell me who they were.
My mother, my mom's friend, my aunt, my husband, and myself.
And did you invite your aunt to go with you?
Yes.
When was it that you invited your aunt?
When she was included in the planning, in the original planning.
Which started when?
April 2022.
Okay, so this is what the case is about. You were supposed to find the least expensive flights for a few people.
Yes.
Not everybody, I assume.
Just my aunt and my mom.
This aunt.
Yes.
And your mom. And you did, in fact, do some investigation. And when you thought you found the right fare, there was a three-way call to the airline.
Yes.
You were on the call?
Yes.
You were on the call?
Yes.
And the airline was on the call?
Yes.
And you purchased tickets to go. And you purchased tickets on what date?
I purchased the tickets.
You all purchased the tickets because she used her credit card.
Yes.
Go ahead. What date?
Can I check my evidence?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, it doesn't tell me the purchase date.
Okay. On what date were you on this three-way call and the tickets purchased?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was like December 3rd of 22.
And this is what happened. After the tickets were purchased, you were on, you spoke to the airline, you gave them your credit card number.
Yes.
And they told you how much your fare was going to be. It was just you. Who
And my son,
You
13-year-old
and,
son.
you and your son. So you purchased two tickets.
Yes.
Purchased two tickets. And when you purchase tickets on an airline, if I'm not mistaken, the attendant who is helping you gives you the date that you're going, your confirmation number. I don't know whether they assign you your seats, tells you certainly from where to where you're going. All of those things are confirmed on the phone.
Yes.
That's what happens when you call the airline.
Yes.
And you heard where you were going. You're 47 years old. And the airline tickets that you purchased were going to Fort Lauderdale instead of Orlando. What?
That's where she said we were going. I didn't know. It was for her son's birthday. She told me that we going to Fort Lauderdale. That's why the tickets was purchased to Fort Lauderdale.
You were taking your son to Disney, correct?
Yes.
Disney is in Orlando.
Orlando.
So if your niece, who's 27, says we're going to Fort Lauderdale to Disney, what you say is Disney is not in Fort Lauderdale. Disney is in Orlando. That's what this case is about. You were on the phone, you purchased the tickets, then your niece said to you, we really have to fly into Orlando. There's a change fee. And this is what the change fee is to change the tickets from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando. You said, ultimately, you pay the difference. I'm not paying it. It was your mistake. That's what happened.
Yes.
That's why we're here. You didn't go. And you're
Yeah.
suing for what you spent on the airline tickets and your contribution to the Airbnb.
Yes. And
That's not happening.
okay.
If the reason you decided not to go is because you didn't want to pay the change fee, well, that was your fault. You listened. I mean, I don't think that there's a person around who thinks that Disney in Florida is in Fort Lauderdale. It's in Orlando. She may have gotten confused, but you shouldn't have been confused. You were taking a teenager to Disney, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have no case, Ms. Scott. The fact that you invested in tickets and you didn't want to pay the change fee, you wanted her to pay for you, that's unreasonable.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
Good. Case is
Thank you,
dismissed.
Your
We're
Honor.
done. Thank
This
you.
court is adjourned.
I feel like my niece was responsible for those tickets. Granted that, I mean, she said we was going to Fort Lauderdale. I didn't book, it was for your son's birthday party, so.
See, that was a mistake. I didn't know. I've never been to Florida or I've never been to Disney World before.
The judge said, it was my fault, so it is what it is. I just take the loss, and now I know not to just deal with nobody else and book my own tickets.
There's nothing I can do. There's no money I can return. It was all out of my hands, so I'm glad that she has the satisfaction to know that she can get nothing from me.
That we just move on, and the kids just, you know, be okay, bye.
The most surprising thing about that whole case was that people still call to make plane reservations. I can't remember the last time I called to make a plane reservation. You sit on hold forever. I just do it online.
Do most people do it online? I know, I
I-
haven't made a plane reservation in a very long time.
Yeah, I would assume so. Make it online. Maybe it diminishes
easy.
the problems like this, like we see here when you book to the wrong place. But hey, for everyone out there, Disney World is in Orlando.
That's
Case 3052, Getsop versus Thomas. All parties, please step forward.
Poopy Getsop is suing her former roommate, Tabitha Thomas, for medical bills, a false eviction, and emotional distress.
Miss Newstop,
Get off here.
you were looking for a room to rent.
Yep.
Why?
basically, I didn't have, a stable place where to live.
How did you find the room?
So we were working together.
Where?
Heimat. It's a very luxury gym.
So you met each other at work?
Yes.
And you found out she had a room?
Exactly.
And you went to look at the room?
Yes.
When did you go to look at the room?
The beginning of November.
November of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Looked at the room and you decided to take the room.
Yeah.
You took the room, you moved in November, according to what I read, and you paid the first month's rent in December.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have a written lease? That's a yes or a no?
No, because she asked me not to worry about it. So I trust her.
Just a second. That's a no. You did not have a written lease.
No, I do not.
When did you move out?
December 31st.
You moved out on December 31st.
Yeah.
And you paid rent for the month of December.
Yes.
So you lived there 1 month, you paid for 1 month.
Yeah.
And you had no lease.
Look,
Whoopi gets up, claims her former roommate, Tabitha Thomas, owes for medical bills, a false eviction, and emotional distress.
Now, this is your claim. You claimed that her dog bit you.
Yes.
And you had some medical bills.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for that.
Yes.
You're also suing for a lot of emotional distress.
Correct.
Because she told you had to leave because you didn't get along with her dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not happening. So we're going to concentrate here on the dog. When you moved in to the room, did you see the dog?
Yes, my honor.
Okay. And on what date do you claim the dog bit you?
It was on December 9.
12/9. And tell me how that happened.
So I was in the room on Zoom meeting with my professor, and then the other roommate with who I shared the room with, she came in the room with the dog. The dog wasn't in the leash. The dog jumped on me and he bit me.
Where?
So, right here. I still have the scar here. I still have the scar here.
Got it.
My honor, it was so hard. I was bleeding. I tried to push the dog to escape the room. I went to the other room.
Just
where
a
it was,
second.
living.
The dog bit you.
Yeah.
Was this the other roommate?
Yes.
When did you go to see a doctor or an emergency room because you say the dog bit you and there was a lot of blood? The next thing I'd like to see is the record from an emergency room or a doctor.
Go for emergency room. Sorry.
Well, you went almost a week later to the emergency room.
Yeah.
Just a second. You went almost a week later. Patient presents with a chief complaint of a bite wound of the upper left extremity, left elbow, and right extremity. What happened to your elbow?
So after he bit me and I was trying to escape from him, he scratched my hand too.
You showed me something on your leg. The first thing that urgent care notes is chief complaint is a bite wound of the left upper extremity, left elbow. You didn't go to the doctor for a week after the bite.
No, because I was okay.
I'm just saying you didn't go to the doctor for a week. Why?
I did not have insurance. And I was scared about the cost of the bills first. And then in my head, I was hoping her to offer me that because that was her dog. She didn't.
I did.
And the second thing, I didn't have insurance and I was scared about the bills too. I was scared about my life. And I said, well, what happened?
Okay.
I'm injured.
Okay, can I see the bill? And I will see the photographs that you have of the injury.
Right here.
Just a second. The amount of your bill was $80. When did you take these photographs?
I took that the same day.
Is this your leg where it's already black and blue?
Yeah.
Just a second. This is your leg where it's already black and blue, and there are 3 little that look like scratch marks. That's what it looks like. Looks like 3 little scratch marks if it was done the same day. Okay. Tell me what happened when the dog went in.
When the dog went in, he went to sniff her because she had lived there about 13 days. He wanted to sniff her. Every time that she would walk in, she would physically push him away like this.
So she was afraid of him?
Because she was afraid of him, which she did not mention when she moved in.
Don't get into a whole drama here.
Okay.
This whole thing is worth $80.
Yes.
Okay, so the dog went into her room.
The dog went into her room. He went to sniff her. She did the thing where she screamed, pushed him away. He went like this on her. He did, I think, hit her leg with his nails. Like, look at his face. Like, there's no way he would have. Okay, so then when she was screaming, I pulled him away. I offered her aid. I asked her if she was okay, if she needed anything. I then went and handled Eddie. She went and then handled her and asked her again if she needed help, if she needed to go to the doctor. She said no. She then went, took a shower, got dressed to the nines, and then went out to go to an event.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you go that night? Shh, just don't give
School.
me a whole story. Where did you go?
I went to school.
Okay, and
I actually know where she went. She went to the LA Christmas parade.
may I see it?
It was on her Instagram to go interview like celebrities.
You have a green dress?
My honor, that is completely wrong.
Just a second. Would you just answer my question?
Yeah.
Do you have a green dress?
I didn't have green dress that day. I had the black dress with a red coat.
It doesn't matter to me, madam. I think that you're a whole lot of drama.
No,
I actually think that you're a whole lot of drama because
no, my honor.
No, let me
sorry, I'm
explain.
just trying to explain you because they try to use that picture.
You can't explain.
They're just trying to use that picture against me. That was for the Holy Week
You have
Christmas
to understand,
parade, which
madam.
is different.
You have to understand, madam.
Okay, sorry.
I think you're a whole bunch of drama. I have no question that the dog either scratched or nipped you. You had a medical bill that you're entitled to be reimbursed for. You don't want to be reimbursed for that medical bill. You want $10,000.
My honor, look, what about the addiction notice?
This is not, just a second.
Okay.
Pay careful attention. You can't live in a house where there's a dog that you're afraid of. What do you mean an eviction notice? You want to stay in that house?
I wasn't afraid with her dog.
Hey, listen, a lot of drama. A lot of drama. Not $10,000, madam. 80. You paid the bill, $80. And you're lucky to get it because I read the report, and the report said, well, the first thing you complained about was something on your elbow. It didn't say anything about infection. It didn't say anything about any reason that a week later, after the event, you went to urgent care. Nothing. It didn't say swollen. It didn't say infected. It didn't say pussing. It didn't say oozing. It didn't say it needed lancing. Nothing. $80. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It's something that I really want them to understand that I was in pain.
I am so ecstatic that this is over. She has been after me and my dog and my money for a year now, and I'm glad that this is done.
It was a big dog. It wasn't a joke.
He is a golden retriever terrier mix. They're not mean dogs.
That plaintiff was a whole lot of drama and some hysterics sprinkled in. She seemed very dramatic, waiting a week for an injury like that.
The leg looked as if there was a black and blue mark there, but it looked like an old black and blue mark. It's possible it was from a bite. And she certainly was entitled to have her medical bill reimbursed, but not the rest of her life. I thought that it was perfectly fair and reasonable. And she was disappointed. She was expecting a much bigger payday.
Blonsey O'Barron is suing his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, for stolen property and money taken from his bank account.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 3056, O'Brien versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. O'Barron, you and the defendant were a couple for a while.
Yes.
From when to when?
2021 to 2023.
When in 2023?
October.
Well, we're not there yet. October of 2023 comes up in a few months.
That was 2022, I meant.
Okay, so from 2021 to October
2022.
of 2022.
Yes, my bad.
And you lived together. According to what I've read, you took an apartment and the lease was in both your names?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month and year was that lease signed?
In June
June of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. You are in a wheelchair as a result of being shot.
Right.
When were you shot?
June 23rd,
Of what year?
2022.
Under what circumstances?
I was altercation with my mother, my kids, and our boyfriend.
Okay, so it was somebody that you knew.
Yes.
And was that person arrested?
No.
Did you know who it was?
Yes, I know who it was.
Is there any reason why that person wasn't arrested who shot you?
I had a gun myself, and then the gun happened to go off. I didn't have an altercation with the person, so it was with somebody else. He was just there, and then he started shooting.
When you moved into the apartment with the defendant, you had not been shot.
No.
So when you were shot, you were hospitalized for a while?
Yes, I was
How long?
actually in the hospital for about 3-4 months.
I'm going to come to you with some dates.
Yes, Your Honor.
You moved into this apartment together in October of 2022,
So we moved in June of 2022.
and he was shot that same month.
Yes, ma'am.
And he spent several months in the hospital.
He spent like 3 months in the hospital, yes, Your Honor.
Your complaint against the defendant is that she used some money because you subsequently became incarcerated.
She didn't use it. She stole it.
She stole, you were living together,
Yes.
I assume sharing expenses,
Right.
and you had a bank account.
Yes.
You were incarcerated,
Yes.
which means that whatever income you had went into that bank.
Yes, ma'am.
And the two of you, when you were in the apartment, shared expenses, including rent. How did you expect her to pay rent with you incarcerated if she didn't use your money that was going into your bank account, which she had control over?
The rent was already paid for 3 months.
You were incarcerated on what day?
I was in the hospital when the rent was already paid.
Well, you were in the hospital, but then you went to jail.
I went to jail.
Okay, you went to jail from when to when?
October till April.
The lease wasn't up until May. How was she supposed to pay rent?
That's what I'm saying. I paid.
Are you telling me in October you paid October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May?
I paid for 3 months.
Which 3 months?
From October, maybe till December.
Let's say it's true. I assume you can prove to me that you paid the rent for those couple of months. What happened to December, January, February, March, and April? What about those 5 months?
We actually didn't have an agreement for me to pay anything, so
You were both on the lease. You were both fully
Right.
responsible for the rent.
Right.
And you were paying something towards the rent.
Right.
Well, I'm asking you, how do you expect her to pay the rent? What was the total rent?
The rent was $750 a month, Your Honor.
And prior to going to jail, how much did you contribute towards the rent? Is not an answer.
I wasn't working at the time because my situation, from October, I was being incarcerated, and I applied for disability, and then I was waiting to get approved while I was.
Well, you got disability. That's what you're complaining about, that you took
Yes.
money out of your account. The money that came out of your account to pay some of these bills was from disability.
I wish you would pay some bills with it. That would make me feel a lot better. But she never paid no bills. She just used the money for unnecessary stuff. So.
How do you know that?
Because I have the proof. If she would pay the bills with the money, when I got home, when I get out, I will probably have somewhere to go. When I left the hospital, I had a GoFundMe. I had a little money. I was helping paying
Just a
bills.
second, you did a GoFundMe?
Yes, from the
what?
hospital, from the months I was in the hospital, so to help me with my medical needs and stuff.
How much did you collect from a GoFundMe page?
2,800 something.
Do you have an outstanding medical bill?
No, I don't. I actually had Medicaid then at the time.
So that you had no hospital bill. You walked out of the hospital, didn't pay anything.
No, I applied while I was in the hospital.
Doesn't matter. You didn't pay anything, correct?
No.
So what did you do with the $2,800 you got from? Shh.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What did you do with the $2,800 that you got from the GoFundMe page? I'm just curious.
I actually bought a lot of stuff for me to use. When I got out, I needed a lot of stuff.
Okay, you say she took money. Did you take any money out of his account?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
How much did you take out?
I roughly spent maybe $3,000 on bills.
Okay, and what did you spend the $3,000 on?
There was rent, there was food, there were utilities, my car note.
Well, why is he responsible for your car note? Why is he responsible for your food?
Blondie agreed to take care of me because I was not working. I stopped working when he had his incident, his shooting incident. I stopped working to take care of him, to be there for him. And so I had no income coming in. Blonsey stated to me that once he received his disability, he was going to take care of me because he had been priorly living with me and not paying any bills.
Is that right, sir? That's a simple answer. She said something to me. It sort of makes sense. And all I'm asking you is the statements that she just made to me, are they accurate?
Aaron claims his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, stole his property and wrongfully withdrew money from his bank account. Sharila is countersuing for property damage.
The statements that she just made to me, are they accurate?
Somewhat.
What's not accurate? Were you living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you paying bills when you were living with her? Rent, food, utilities?
Yes.
Were you paying for that?
I actually paid for food. Yeah.
Okay, so you paid for nothing. And then, prior to your becoming incapacitated, was the defendant working?
She actually was working, and then she stopped working.
She was working. What was she doing? You were living together, so you know what she was doing. What was she doing?
She wasn't really taking care of me.
I didn't ask about taking care of you.
She wasn't doing nothing.
I asked, was she working prior to your becoming incapacitated?
Yes.
What kind of work was she doing?
Nursing.
She was a nurse.
Yeah.
Are you still nursing?
Your Honor, I'm a medical office receptionist, so I'm not a nurse, Your Honor.
Should have gotten to know you a little bit better. Okay. And on what date did you leave that job?
I stopped working in July.
You were shot in June.
June, yes.
And then you were in the hospital for a while.
Yes.
And prior to being shot, you were not in a wheelchair.
No.
When you came home, was the defendant at home?
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes? She was on the lease.
After a couple months from being there, she didn't want to be at the house. She was getting...
Was she with you in July?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she with you in August?
Yes.
Okay. What credit card charges do you believe exist that the defendant used your credit card without your permission?
Oh, right here.
This is a checking account statement, sir.
It's the checking account. It wasn't no credit card.
So she never used your credit card without permission?
No, it wasn't in the credit card.
Okay.
It was just checking account.
In January, February, and March of 2023, you were incarcerated.
Yes.
What were you incarcerated for?
It was a warrant that I have.
Your Honor, it was a warrant from a violent situation that he incurred with his witness.
Tell me about it.
They had a disturbance at her location, and they arrested him from the house that we shared due to a warrant from his witness.
Okay. And was that because you called the police because you were having an altercation?
I called the police because we were having an altercation, but they arrested him due to an incident between him and his child's mother.
Okay. And when did that occur?
That occurred October 28th.
Now, what items do you say that she took from you without permission?
All my personal belongings, like clothes, shoes, everything.
When
I left with nothing at all, when I got out.
When you got out of jail?
Yes.
Okay. When you got out of jail, what was the date that you were released from jail?
April 14th.
And where did you go?
I actually slept in the car that night because...
Where did you go the next day?
The next day, my kid's mother tried to help me find a hotel and pay for it.
And what happened to the apartment that you had been sharing with the defendant?
The week before I got out, me and the defendant, we was actually talking. When I got out, she was gonna release everything to me so we can move on. But
so you could move on?
But we both can move on. So the week before I got out, she started me answering the phone from the jail. And then she had a plan to move out, but when she moved...
Well, the lease was up the next month.
I don't think the lease was off yet.
Yeah, the lease was going to be up the next month. It was a year lease.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, I'm telling you, it was a year lease. It was going to be up the next month.
Okay, well, then again, she didn't want me to be there anymore.
Well, you had an altercation with her, did you not?
After my incident, she started the...
Just a second, you had an altercation with her?
We had, yes.
You had the altercation in October.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And as a result of that altercation, another warrant dropped on you from another incident.
Yes.
So I can imagine that she didn't want to be with you anymore because she had called the police on you as a result of the October incident.
No, that wasn't the reason.
Why? What was the reason?
The reason was because I wasn't good enough at the point because of my situation. I was in a wheelchair. She didn't want nothing to do with me at that point anymore.
Okay.
The only reason she actually lead me on when the doctor told me I couldn't walk anymore, I told her, you don't have to be there if you don't want to. And even my mom told her that when she seen her outside the hospital, but she kind of feels some type of way about that. And then when I told her after that, she told me, well, your mom tell me the same thing, but I choose to be here because, you know, I love you, this and that. So she leave me on, tell me, I'm gonna help you. You can come back home with this and that. And then a couple months after the low money I got from the GoFundMe was over, everything I said was an argument, and we started getting into altercation every other day because after the 2 months that I didn't have nothing to basically give her anymore, and being in my situation, it's like she was using that to, you know, take advantage of everything.
What did she take?
She took my clothes, everything that I owned. She took everything that I owned.
Your Honor, I took some of his belongings to an address that he resides at also. I dropped some belongings off over there in Independence, Missouri.
And do you know who lives there?
Yes, his brothers live there.
And what did you bring over there?
I dropped off a couple Tupperware of clothes, Your Honor. I didn't want to bring anything personally to him because I just kind of feared for my life. And so I dropped some belongings off prior to him getting out. And then once he was released out, I kind of took some time to give him some of his rest of his belongings just because I was scared.
How did you give him those belongings after he got out?
I personally handed them to him.
Where?
His address in Independence.
Where his brother also lives?
Yes.
You remember that?
No, I have no idea what she's talking about, Your Honor.
What address is on your driver's license?
Her address, actually.
Okay. Did you call anyone before you went over there with these bags of clothing?
I talked to Blondie and I told him I was going to drop his stuff off. He gave me an address to drop the stuff off.
Can I see that, please? Do you remember that, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, don't say anything.
Yep.
And she's going to show me.
I actually gave her an address, but nothing ever. Never.
Just a second. So now you're remembering that you gave her.
Yes,
and
I did.
I'd like to see what she has, please. It doesn't say anything. I will give you your belongings. We can move on, but
it's up at the top where I'm asking him for the address.
Address or what?
And he's not sending it, but he did send me an address. I just don't have that with me, Your Honor.
Okay, but I want to tell you something, sir. In this text exchange, she says address or what? And you answer her, enjoy my money while it lasts. You remember that? And then when you got out...
Blondie O'Barron has accused his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, of stealing property and taking money without his permission. Sharila is countersuing Blondie for property damage.
I'm now addressing your counterclaim. I want you to tell me what happened on October 28th.
So what happened was I came home to him tearing up different items around the house. He tore up a wardrobe of mine. There were some TV damages done. As I came in the house, we were arguing. We had been arguing.
What were you arguing about?
I no longer wanted to be with him just for the past things that I've experienced with him. I was just done and over the drama, the mental abuse, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse. My kids are witnesses to this. I was just done, Your Honor. I wanted to move on. So I called the police, and then they informed me that they were arresting him on another charge for whatever he had going on with his children's mother.
Now you can stand up. Okay. Tell me your last name.
Moore.
Ms. Moore.
Yes.
You and the plaintiff have a child together?
Yes, ma'am.
One child?
Yes, ma'am.
Plaintiff was arrested for an altercation that he had with you.
Right.
When did that happen?
Huh? A couple of weeks before he was shot. He had some mail come into my house, and I didn't realize that he had mail delivered. And so he came to my residence, and he was looking for the mail, and I didn't give it to him. And so I asked him to leave a couple of times. He didn't leave, and so then I called the police. And so that's when he had a warrant out for his arrest for basically like disturbance of peace.
Oh, no. That doesn't make sense to me.
He tried to attack her with a crowbar.
Just
Your
a
Honor.
second. That doesn't make sense. I've been in this business for much too long, folks, I want my mail and I didn't give it to you, so
That
we
is
went to
what
jail for
happened,
6
though.
months. That didn't happen, madam.
No,
Miss
it
Moore.
was that, like, it kind of got put under domestic because he did become, like, violent. He wanted
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, he wanted
Don't
his
give me
mail.
this mail business.
He wanted his mail, so he had a crowbar, basically, approaching my vehicle. And so my nephew went out there and tried to stop it. And so they kind of had a back and forth shoving a thing.
Just a second. So now it's getting more serious.
Yeah.
Were you, sir, arrested with regard to that domestic incident?
Yes.
Was there a trial on that case?
Yes.
What happened with that case?
They dropped it and just give me probation.
No, they didn't drop it.
Yes,
If they
they
gave you
the charges.
Just a second. Listen to me carefully. The justice system does not put people on probation unless there is a conviction for something.
Right.
Now, they may have reduced the charges. Did you have a trial or did you plead guilty?
Plead guilty.
That's different story. You pled guilty to what charge?
Assault.
On whom?
Her nephew.
Her nephew, not her.
No.
Sit down. Okay. Sit down. I can rely on nothing that you tell me. So you were convicted of assault on her nephew. You were placed on probation.
I was already on probation for something else.
What were you on probation for something else?
Probation violation.
Well, you don't go to jail for probation violation unless there's another underlying crime. What was the underlying crime that
Driving.
Driving?
Yes.
No, driving is not a crime, sir. You were never on probation for driving.
Yes, I was.
Well, not in this country.
Okay.
Not in this country. You may be on probation if you have an aggravated DUI. You may be on probation because
Suspended license, ma'am.
Well, because you had no license.
Yes.
Even driving on a suspended license, you don't go to jail unless you had something more serious. Before that,
No, Your Honor.
you seem to have an awful lot of legal problems, sir.
I have.
You have an awful lot of legal problems. You were living with this lady. She took out money. She paid bills. Forget it. You used your GoFundMe page. I don't know what for. Here's a phone. I listened to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim didn't say much. It said he destroyed some things in your house.
Yes, Your Honor. Blondie tore up some TVs that were in the house. I have pictures of.
That was in October.
October.
Almost a year ago.
Yes, Your Honor.
Almost a year ago. We're almost a year later. If he destroyed some of these items, where have you been about filing a case against him?
So I realized that the police department, they put out a warrant for the damages that occurred October 28th to an iPhone of mine.
Do you have
that
a
police report,
I'd
yes,
like to
Your
see the
Honor.
police report. You cause any damage to things in her residence?
Actually, what happened...
Just a second to see the yes or no.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, the only thing that was reported damaged was an iPhone.
Yes, Your Honor.
Period. And the police reported that it was broken front and back, nothing else. No TVs, no nothing. That's what the police reported. They spoke to you and that's what you said was damaged. Did you damage her iPhone?
No, ma'am.
How did it get damaged?
What happened was the altercation that happened between me and her. She started. I was in the kitchen, and then she was in the bedroom. And then next thing I know, I was opening the fridge. I'm sitting there, and then I got a punch that come behind my head, and then she take off running and went outside, and then called the police.
What did you use to call the police? Is not an answer. What did you use to call the police?
My cell phone, Your Honor.
Yuck. Your counterclaim is dismissed. So is your claim, sir. I suggest you stay far away from each other, and I'm going to tell you one thing. If he has violent propensities, you think twice. Be smart. Goodbye. Both of you. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Blondie freeloaded off of me for a year and a half.
I don't think it was fair enough. I didn't really get my point across.
The final straw is my kids. My kids had endured enough, and it was just time for a change for us.
Forgive her. I guess she needed the money more than I do. I'm not really mad about it. It's okay.
I'm okay with the judge's decision today. I just gonna get my protection order and move on.
You know what was most distressing to me about that case, Sarah? The plaintiff's girlfriend, the mother of his son, was a well-spoken, articulate, together woman with whom he's currently living, despite the fact that he was convicted of a serious assault. He was originally charged with aggravated assault on her nephew. Then you have the defendant, another articulate, seemingly together person who had a responsible job before him. These two women accepting a place where they know they're going to live in fear of somebody that has violent propensities. They both know it.
At least with the defendant, after they had that altercation in which she called the police, she left. She said, you know, her testimony today was, that was it for me. But you can't say the same thing for the mother of his child, so it's just unfortunate that she'll have to live with that fear.
I don't know how long.
We'll see.
Robin Shepler is suing her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, for a mobility scooter and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3053, Shepler versus Tappendorf.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Shepler, am I correct that the two of you were neighbors in a mobile home community?
Correct.
How long had you been neighbors in the community where you lived?
2 years.
Did the two of you ever see each other socially?
Just the two of us?
Just the two of you.
One time we went for a Friday night fish dinner, yes.
Other than the one-time Friday night fish dinner, did you ever go out socially with him? Either two of you or another couple or...
With other neighbors in the mobile home park.
Your case is about a scooter that you sold to the defendant.
Correct.
I want you to tell me exactly what kind of scooter it was, because I wasn't able to get enough information about it.
It's called the Golden Companion 2 scooter.
Where did you get it from?
My father bought himself a scooter and a wheelchair. He never used them before he moved into a
So
nursing
you
home.
got it from your father?
Correct.
When? What year?
2018.
And how long had he had it before he gave it to you?
3 years.
And where did he get it from?
He purchased it from a connection he had at the VA center.
From a private person?
No, it was from the company directly.
Any luck?
So I just need to know if it's a 3-wheel or a 4-wheel.
3-wheel.
Then I have for a new one from Golden Tech, I believe.
Well, this one's 8 years old.
Well, I have what a new one is,
Okay.
and then I have what some eBay offers
Okay,
are.
good.
But 2756
Is new.
is new. And then I could look up some used ones if you want, just to get
Could
an
you do
idea.
that from 2015? I would appreciate it. Okay. At the time that you claim the defendant purchased this scooter from you, was it running?
No.
In what month and year did he purchase it from you?
May of 2021.
And how long had it not been running? You had had it since 2018.
As far as I know, it just needed 2 new batteries.
It's not what I asked you.
Okay.
How long had it not been running?
I'm not aware.
So as far as you know, it had not been running since 2018.
Yes.
Tell me what the arrangement you made with Mr. Tappendorf was with regard to the scooter. He said he wanted it. You said...
Said, well, it's not running. I wanted to get new batteries for it and sell it myself for about $3,000.
Yeah, well, that would be hard since it's 8 years old and the new one costs less than $3,000.
So I said, we can work out a deal.
Just do you understand what I just said?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So he said he's interested in buying it, and I know he's a handyman. So I asked if he would be willing to install a dishwasher in my home and a water softener in my home, and we could work out a discounted price for buying the scooter from me.
So what price did you work out?
At that time, I had mentioned $1,500.
Is that what he agreed to?
It was a verbal agreement. There was no talk on price.
No, there cannot be a contract without terms. Have to be terms. You say this is what you want. He says this is what I'll pay you. And I will do something to reduce that price by so much. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, so far we don't have a contract.
No.
In what month and year did you take possession of the scooter, sir?
I believe Robin is right, May of 2021.
How much money did you give her for it?
None.
Did you ever give her any money for it?
Yes.
When?
Close to 8 months to a year later.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you giving her money for it.
Well, I thought we already had it worked out with all the labor that I did. And my girlfriend took it down to the mailbox. And as soon as she left, Robin's right across the street. She come running over and she said she wanted more money.
Okay, well, I'm missing that whole, there's a whole piece missing there, sir. 8 months later, you gave her money.
Yes, I did.
How much?
$500.
Okay. Sarah, in your
I looked up.
adventure on the machine, did you come up with a price for a used?
Yes. So there's actually one right here on eBay that's the same 3 wheels that needs batteries for $350. And then there's another one for $250, and they range up to about $750.
Your Honor, I have the information on that too from 2 companies in La Crosse.
No, I don't need any information from you. I have a very trusted clerk here who's just looked it up and indicated that for a used scooter, the range is from $250 for that year model to $750 for that year model, right?
That's what she looked up. This was
That's
an
what she
unused, never used scooter.
That's what she looked up.
Yes.
Also, if I may ask you, Your Honor, or show you, it is a manufactured.
So far, you're not losing, sir. So I don't know what you want to contribute to this.
I just have an old flip phone with the date on it. It was manufactured 05/28 of 2007.
Okay, so it wasn't 2015, it was 2007.
That's what I found on the scooter.
Kevin, can I see the document that the defendant referenced?
Okay, I'll show you.
No, you had it right over there.
This one?
Yeah.
Well, that's just, here, it's on my phone, Your Honor, and I don't know if you can look at it. I just wrote it down so I had it in front of me, but
Okay.
I have it on this phone. If you can operate it, I don't know.
I can't operate it, and I don't want to operate it here.
Okay.
Return this to him. Anyway, the $500 that you gave to her is more than reasonable for the scooter.
Robin Shepler claims her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, harassed her for months and owes for a mobility scooter.
Now, you did other work for her. Tell me what other work you did for her.
The work that I performed for Robin was she had no dishwasher there. So I cut the cabinet out, prepared a spot for the dishwasher, had to go through more cabinets to get the plumbing over to the sink. Then it needed to have electrical work to power that up. And she asked me to install another electrical outlet for her microwave.
Now, Miss Shepler, you seem to acknowledge that the defendant did, in fact, install a dishwasher for you.
I did some of the work as well for that.
Well, that's your home.
Yes.
It's not his home.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do as much work as you like. And this was part of the deal for the scooter, which he paid you $500 for, which already covers the cost of the scooter. So now he's working off nothing. So he installed a dishwasher for you.
He did sub-quality work, though.
Well,
I have photos if you'd like to see.
I don't want to see, madam. If you want a professional installation, call a professional. If you want your neighbor to do it in exchange for a scooter, then you don't complain that you don't like the work. Does it wash dishes?
I had to replace it. No.
It was used, Your Honor.
What?
It was a used dishwasher.
Yeah, replacing the dishwasher. Does the current dishwasher work?
Yes.
Is the current dishwasher a new one?
Yes.
Was the one he installed a used one?
Yes.
There we go. So far, he's paid for the scooter. Punitive damages for harassment. You want to go into that, Ms. Shepler?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I knew him for 6 years prior to being neighbors. In that time, we would have community fires, bonfires, and he had this habit of turning his music up so loud.
Just a second. Give me a month and year.
This specific time for the last time was on March 16th. This was during the day.
Just March 16th, 2023. He played his music too loud.
I was working, and I couldn't do my job across the street because his music was so loud.
Next.
So I called the police. And the next day I came home from work, I get out of my car, and he calls me
that's a nasty word.
No, I did not.
Just a second. And
other vulgar terms.
And
he had the habit of standing outside urinating, where my grandchildren would see him.
Well, tell me when. Give me
every other day he did it.
Well, then you shouldn't have let him in your house to install a dishwasher.
He also had...
Just a second. So my question to you is, if it was vulgar then, which to me it would have been, why did you let him in your house to install a dishwasher?
I was not aware of those actions that he had at that time.
Okay. Next.
The harassment comes from after he was served his small claims case that I filed, I witnessed him putting spotlights out in his front flower bed and running extension cords to power them. And I kind of wondered what he was doing. At 6:30, I proceeded to go to an evening activity. I came home at 10:30 at night. I turned the corner onto my street to see the entire street lit up because these spotlights are shining on my house. I proceeded to call the police. The police came within 11 minutes. I have documents of the police. I have a video of the police going to the defendant's house, in which they spoke to him, and within 3 minutes, the lights went off. But I had my camera rolling, and I could see the police were standing 10 feet away from the door. Next thing I know, the police are coming over to my house to talk to me, and when they came to my door, I turned on my front light. When the police came, they asked me to turn off the lights so they could talk to me, and I told them, this man is harassing me. I'm afraid of him. He has a problem with alcohol.
Why did you file a small claims case against him? I don't understand. You were paid more than the scooter was worth between the $500 he gave, plus in addition to that, he did some work in your house, whether you liked the work he did, whether you didn't like the work that he did. I'm not understanding why you filed, because you say this harassment started after you filed the small claims case.
Yes.
And I don't understand why you filed a small claims case against him.
I feel it was a brand new, unused scooter that happened to be 6 years old at the time. So I think the value was higher than $500. And I brought over a flyer to him, which I have here. And we sat down and we discussed it, that $1,000 would be the going price for what he'd owed for the scooter, having done the work.
Okay. First of all, whatever it was a plus item for you. It was given to you by your father who couldn't use it anymore. You don't know what he paid for it. He says from the scooter, it was built in 2007, despite the fact that you say your father bought it new in 2015, which I'm not so sure about. But the highest price for that scooter is $750. The highest. The lowest is $225 in the same year. So you got paid for it. I don't understand why a busy woman like you would waste your time. I just don't understand. You seem like an intelligent woman. You have a counterclaim. It is your claim, Mr. Tappendorf, that because the plaintiff called the police on you several times, it caused you to be evicted from your home.
That's true.
Show me.
I filed a counterclaim in the amount of $1,800.
I have it. And it says punitive damages for losing home and moving expenses, which I read your counterclaim, and you say because of her constant complaints about you.
I don't have any proof.
Well, if you don't have,
I know,
Mr. Tappendorf, you know what happens when you don't have proof?
You get nothing.
Right. Right. Because you filed the counterclaim, and I can't tell you what happened. You have to have proof and be able to show me that the reason you were asked to leave the leased property that your mobile home was on was because of the plaintiff. It's possible that it was, because the police, based upon what she tells me, were called twice.
It was more than that.
Well, that may be more of a reason. You don't have to help his case.
I've never had a ticket, never had a warning. I just had a warning one time that the radio was too loud, please turn it off. These lights that she's talking about
I'm not interested.
False.
Sir, all you have to do is show me that you were evicted from the property because of the plaintiff.
It's all hearsay then, Your Honor.
Well, then I have a problem.
I do have proof of what he harassed me with.
Just a second.
And later today,
according to what I read,
Robin Shepler claims her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, harassed her for months and owes for a mobility scooter.
He has no case. Why are you helping him?
I'm not helping him. I have my own case against.
No, your case is dismissed against him.
Thank you.
Because you have no case. You were paid for a scooter more than handsomely. You had work done in your house. You were paid far more than the value of it over the internet for a scooter that's between 8 and 14 years old, more than handsomely, and you had work, and he did work for you. That you may not have liked the work, but he did the work, and you installed a new dishwasher that works. And he did the cabinetry. You may not like the way he did it, but you installed the dishwasher there, and it took time. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're done here. Go, be well, have a happy life. You're not living there anymore?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Good. Are you living someplace else that you like?
More peaceful place.
Good. Glad to hear it. That's it.
We're done. He's not supposed to be in our park, and he continues to.
This court is adjourned.
He was in front of my camera riding in circles. I'm on Robin's camera. I'm on Candid camera, doing burnouts with my scooter.
It goes 4 miles an hour.
He taunted me with the scooter, and he knew he owed me more money on it.
I have another girlfriend that lives in the neighborhood, and they're all jealous of her, and they just want me out of there now.
Well, he's been evicted from the park, and all of the people are very happy that he's no longer there.
That defendant has definitely watched you before. He knew he had no proof, and he knew he was going home because of it. But I mean, I guess at least be honest. When you come in, he knew he didn't have it, but
what do I have? Got nothing.
Yeah, at least he knew it was hearsay, and he knew you weren't hearing it.
I actually thought he was pretty sharp.
Yeah, but I think, she was adequately paid, and he did work. She didn't like it, hire a professional.
Yeah, well, you put in a used dishwasher in the work that he created. So he really more than paid for it.
Yeah.
There's something else there. There's some other annoyance there. I'm not exactly sure what it is between the two of them.
You don't want to know.
And I don't. Yes.
Case 30.
Taylor is suing his former friend, Sabra Crockett, for the cost of a van.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3065, Taylor versus Crockett.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Taylor,
Yeah.
I read your complaint. I have several questions. for you.
Okay.
When was the last time you owned a car in your name?
October of last year.
What kind of car did you own?
2010 Lexus.
What happened to that car?
The upper and lower control arms were broke, and I couldn't drive it because I felt that it was too unsafe.
How long did you have that car?
About 4 months.
Was it insured?
Yes.
By whom?
I don't have the name of the insurance company with me, but it was insured.
Prior to that, you had that car for 4 months. What was the car you had previous to that?
Previous to that, 2000 Cadillac SDS.
On either of these cars that you had, either the Cadillac or the Lexus, had you accrued tickets and fines?
Yes.
How much?
I believe my tickets are around a couple thousand.
On both of those cars?
No, not on those cars, from cars prior.
I'm talking, well, you couldn't have registered either one of those cars, sir, if you had $2,000 in fines on other cars.
I have a photograph of the picture of the registration.
Of what?
To the Lexus on my phone.
Did you pay the $2,000 in fines on previous cars?
No.
No. Now we can get started with this case.
Okay.
This case says that you purchased a van. For whatever reason you purchased the van. The defendant was a friend of yours. You asked to put the van in her name.
She asked.
No, that's not right.
Okay. Go ahead.
Get it together, sir.
All
Would you
right.
please? I'm going to be respectful to you. You be respectful to me.
Amen.
Good. You asked to put the car in her name because you had unpaid fines and tickets and couldn't have it in your own.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That is a
yes.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, just as long as we're getting it together.
Okay.
And she did. You bought the van. You paid $2,400 for it.
No, ma'am.
How much did you
The
pay
total
for it?
price, I have the bill of sale here. Evidence.
It says here in your complaint, sir, I paid $2,500 for the van.
Yes, I made a payment on the van since then of
May I see,
$200.
may I
Yes.
see the papers that he's showing me? I went to visit my friend in April 2022, who was a bishop, parked next to an old van at the church owned and asked if they would be willing to sell it. He said the church would sell me the van. I paid $2,500 for the van. That's your sworn complaint.
Okay.
Okay is not,
Yes.
okay is great.
Right, but they decided that they wanted $2,900. I do have, Your Honor, I do have the receipt.
I don't, listen to me, sir.
Okay.
I don't care.
All right.
The reason you put the van in the defendant's name was because legally you were not allowed to put it in yours because you had unpaid fines. What happened, according to the defendant, is that in the time that you had the van, which was from what month and year to what month and year?
May the 1st of 2022, and she brought the police.
When did she take the van back?
May the 7th. May the 7th of this year.
And in that year, according to the defendant, she took the van back because you had, again, acquired a lot of tickets on it.
2 tickets, which I paid.
Really?
Yes, I have the receipt.
Well, and she's going to have to show me. She said you acquired $1,600 worth of tickets. Is that what you wrote?
Yes, I did write that, Your Honor.
Do you have proof of that?
I have proof as what the tickets are and what it would cost to get this van in shape.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said...
I have some here, yes,
just
I
a
do.
second.
Okay.
Answer. At this point, he owed me $1,600 in toll fees.
Toll fees?
Do you have proof that he, in that year, he accrued while driving the van
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because the $1,600 was including everything that needed to be added to this van.
No, Miss Crockett.
Yes.
No, Miss Crockett. That's not what you said here. You said you took it. I'm going to read you what you wrote.
Yes, dear.
At that point, he owed me $1,600 in toll fees, and I didn't trust him to do the right thing. Before the van was completely worthless, I decided to have the police come and get it.
Yes.
So how much were the fees? You said toll fees. How much could you prove that he had accrued in toll fees? You didn't spend any money for this van. And I absolutely believe that you should have taken it back. Under normal circumstances, you should have taken it back if he accrued any tickets on the van, because you're liable for that.
Yes.
And he's got a miserable history with paying his fines.
Yes. Yes,
Do you
Your
understand?
Honor. Yes,
Yes,
I
Your
do
Honor. Yes,
now.
Your Honor. How much
Yes.
can you prove he had in toll fees?
The tickets that I have here, pictures of.
Well, show me.
Okay.
I didn't ask you for anything. Are you showing me text messages? I want to see toll fees.
That's all I have, dear, is the text messages.
From whom?
Between Edward and myself, and some pictures of the tolls, the tickets that I sent to him through the
I would
phone.
like to see the tickets that you sent him. I don't want to see text messages. You tried to
Claims his former friend, Sabra Crockett, owes for the cost of a van. Sabra says the van was stolen and she owes him nothing.
You're the owner of the car. You would have gotten notification of toll fees.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, then I want to see them. Look that up. Give me the low range.
1,600 to 4,000.
Miss Crockett, it's taking you too much time to find what was clear.
All right, here's two, my dear.
There's
I have
two what?
more. Here you go, young man.
Yeah. Well, I have one, and she says to you that she got a collections notice on a ticket from September 13th in the amount of $110.17. So you need to call this lady. And then on May 5th, she says to you, your balance from other tickets would be $601.17.
No, ma'am. I have 2 tickets here. One that's $33 from Trenton. I was in Trenton. I have one that says $110.17.
Right.
I have letters here that state that she received the money.
Just a second. When did you get the fines?
I didn't get pulled over. This was like from a camera shop. And there was no toll booth in Trenton. This
How
was
come
an
it went?
overhead
Just
camera.
a second. It went to collections, sir. So if she was notified of a ticket, listen to me.
Okay.
If she was notified of a ticket, believe me, this lady notified you right away.
No, she didn't. I can prove it.
Go ahead.
The letter that she sent me said that the ticket was September the 13th, 2022. 7 months later, I have here from her one ticket that says $110.17 and another ticket that says 33. That's $143.17.
I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about why did it go to collections?
Because she didn't turn the money in that I stuck in her mailbox. And I have proof here that I stuck the money in her mailbox.
Just a second. On what date did you put money in her mailbox?
I have it here on March the 15th. It says...
Just a second. March?
Yes.
Just a second. March
the 26th at 5:15. I got a text message from Miss Moore. I just got it this morning, the money you put in my mailbox. I got it, but you are still late. I will send you the picture of the ticket. Now, this is the first time I gotten a ticket from her, period. The one for 33 and the one for 110. This other thing about $116, she can't show you that she sent it to me. She cannot. For her life, she can't show you that. Here are the 2 tickets that she sent, and on my phone, I have a balance of $60.17.
Oh, well, maybe
From
this
her.
says, maybe this says 60, although it looked like 601.17.
Oh, no, $60.17.
60?
It's $60, Your Honor.
$60.17?
Yes, dear.
Yes, not
Okay.
600.
That was on Friday, May 5th.
Yes. On Monday, May the 1st, I paid her $182 for insurance. Here's the letter that she sent me about the insurance
May I?
due.
This is in,
Here's another one.
just a second.
Okay.
Let's start with this, Mr. Taylor. The fact that you tried to scam the Department of Motor Vehicles starts you off with a problem. Do you understand?
Yes.
With me. Starts you off with a problem. Because if you know that you're not allowed by law to register a car in your name because you have unpaid fines from whatever state you're from. What state are you from?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania. You have unpaid fines. And you try to circumvent the law by physically owning a car, having it in your possession, and being the sole driver of the car, and putting it in someone else's name to circumvent the fact that you haven't paid tickets, doesn't put you in a good place here.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
We understand that. It's like buying a car without a driver's license and saying, you know what? This is the car I want. I have no driver's license because they took my license away for drunk driving, but I need a car to get around. So I'll give you the money, you buy the car, and I'll drive it. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's against the law. So when people come into court who have already broken the law, and you ask me to find in your favor and return a car to you that you can't own, you understand? We have a problem. That's where we're starting from. Now, similarly, you were an accomplice because you knew that he couldn't have a car in his name. Are you denying that you knew he couldn't have a car in his name?
Yes, I am denying that, Your Honor.
Now you tell me why you thought he, uncross your arms, why you thought he needed the car put in your name rather than him owning the car himself.
Okay, this is how it went, Your Honor.
No, I asked you a question.
Yes.
I mean, do you own a car?
Yes, I do.
Did you pay for it?
Yes, I did.
Is it in your name?
Yes, it surely is.
It surely is. Who is this person?
This is my girlfriend, my neighbor, and my friend.
Does she own a car?
Yes, she does.
Is it in her name?
Directly, yes, it is.
Okay, so you know that if he bought a car with money and said to you, put it in your name, there had to be a reason.
Definitely.
What did you think the reason was?
When I got to the Allstate office to get the title change, he approached me and said, could you put it in my name because I have a lot of tickets?
That's what I just said.
Yes, but I didn't know that. I knew that he had a lot of tickets. I said, I'm going to give you 3 months.
It doesn't make any difference. What you did was you knew he couldn't put it on cross. You knew he couldn't put it in his name because, for the same reason the drunk driver couldn't put a car in their name, they had no license. He wasn't allowed to own a car unless he paid off his fines on his old cars.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were an accomplice in that by putting it in your name. That's what I'm telling you. That's not a question. That's a statement. There's a difference between a question and a statement. I'm making a statement to you.
Yes, you are.
You knew?
No, I did not know, dear.
Oh, yes, you did.
No, I did not, because when I met Mr. Taylor, he was driving a Chrysler 3000.
Who cares? He told you he couldn't put it in his name because of the tickets.
For the tickets.
That's what...
Yes, dear.
That's exactly what I said to you.
Yes,
he told you he couldn't put it in his name because of the tickets.
Former friend, Sabra Crockett, of refusing to pay for his van after it was stolen. Sabra says she did Edward a favor, and he still owes her for parking tickets.
So, Mr. Taylor, I am disinclined to help you, but I want to know what happened to this van, just out of curiosity. Now, I know the van was stolen once and recovered. It was stolen a couple of months after you were driving it.
6 weeks after I brought it.
6 weeks. Sad. And then you got it back, got it out of impound, a couple of parts or whatever. But you were still driving it because you drove it for a year after it was stolen the first time. You took it back more recently because you say you got these tickets, whatever. You took it back. It wasn't smart of you to do it in the first place if you knew that he was breaking the law by having this car.
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to the van?
I retrieved the van.
Yes, I know you did.
And with the police.
On what date did you go and get the van?
I got the van on May 3rd, 2023.
No.
Where is it now?
Somebody stole it, Your Honor.
From where?
In front of my house.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do, dear.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Here you go, Your Honor.
Thank you.
This young man here.
Okay. And Allstate is the insurer.
Yes, dear.
Did you advise Allstate that it was stolen?
Yes, I did.
And what happened?
They gave me a claim number and said they'll call me in a couple days.
And did they call you? Or were you waiting for the call?
I was waiting for the call, yes.
Oh, well, then you have to wait, sir. If you get any money, you have to give it to him. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I have talked to Allstate, but it was only, what is it, liability on it? No other?
Well, that would not be my problem. That would be his problem. You put insurance on this.
Yes, I pay every month.
It depends upon what kind of insurance you have.
$80
If you get any money back from Allstate for the van, listen, this just happened. We're talking about something that happened 23 days ago. You're not a priority for Allstate. So I don't know whether they're going to give you any money or not. It depends upon his insurance. All I'm telling you is if you get any money for this stolen van, it belongs to him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Has he cleared up all the tickets that are in your name?
No, dear.
How much is outstanding in tickets that you can prove?
Probably $50.
I don't care about $50. I mean, I care about $50.
Okay.
I care about $50, but not as much as this tape is costing to tape this case. So you understand that if you get the check and if you had insurance to cover your van, sir, pay attention. If you had insurance to cover your van, I'm directing her to turn that money over to you if she gets it.
Yes.
If she doesn't get it, you get nothing.
Okay. But how would I know if she got it?
Well, you trusted her to put the car in her name, didn't you?
But I can't, Your Honor, can I show you this here where I don't owe anything for tickets?
I don't care. Do you understand? I don't care. Okay. You do owe for your old car's tickets.
Okay, yes.
You do owe thousands of dollars for your old car's tickets.
Yes, I agree.
All I'm saying to you is that if you had full coverage on this van, instead of just liability, if you hit somebody, she should get a check for a stolen car. If you do not have that on the van, she will not. So I would suggest that we will prepare an order for this car that you can send to Allstate, which is your insurer, that if there is a check, her insurer, which if there is a check, that check should be forwarded to you. Whether they will do that or not, I don't know. But I doubt very much whether you were paying for anything other than the minimum liability on this van. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's right. But
then you would get nothing. Then you would get nothing. She doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Got stolen.
I knew nothing about it being stolen.
Well, just so that you know,
now.
this is the police report. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll take it back now. Got it?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Well, the judge made a good decision.
I think the judge did a marvelous job.
Well, I just didn't pay it. That's just telling the truth.
Because he knew I had a valid driver's license and I could drive and he couldn't.
She never intended on giving me the title.
I went to his church and I had the police to meet me there and I had the title, registration, and the insurance card.
I learned that you can't trust everybody.
This is a lesson learned. Do not sign for anything unless you check out all the facts.
Okay, I just have a little bone to pick with your analogy of, I understand the analogy that you made between driving drunk and covering for someone who's unable to drive under the law for having a DUI or, something of that nature. But when you liken it to parking tickets, I understand under the law equally that person would be unable to register a car for those two reasons. But I feel like with a DWI, you're making an active choice to get behind the wheel when you know that you're drunk and you're endangering the lives of others. With parking tickets, there's a lot of factors, socioeconomic factors, that play into why someone might not be able to afford their parking tickets. Now, before you get to the counterpoint of he bought 2 more cars after that, I'm not saying that this situation warrants my counterpoint, but I do think that it's something to consider, is that a DWI is something very serious, that you're taking an active role in your own criminal behavior,
you're
endangering others.
You're endangering others. I would agree with you. When you come into a court of law and equity, equity means you want a fair result to happen. So you're sort of throwing yourself on the court and saying, I want you to do justice. And before you do that, you're supposed to come in with
clean hands.
Right. And he clearly couldn't do that because the whole scheme with the car is to avoid personal responsibility, paying your tickets so that you can have a car, so that you don't park next to a fire hydrant in a handicap spot, in a fire zone. You're not supposed to do that. That also places people at risk, but not in the same way as drunk driving. But I
understood the analogy.
You're not supposed to, not here anyway, break the law and then come into court and ask for my help in equity when you've broken the rules.
The same court you're defrauding.
Yep. And she was really a co-conspirator.
I don't even think she realized until you said it 3 times.
No, I don't think she realized. She realized it either. I'm not sure. She was supposed to be a church member or whatever, a friend. I'm not so sure that there wasn't a little bit more there. I don't know. I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't, for anyone, put a car in my name and be responsible for it and let you drive if you have a history of being irresponsible.
You wouldn't even do that for me, I don't think.
No, you don't have to think about that. I would not do that for you. I wouldn't put a car in my name for you. They made a complaint to the police that you had threatened them with a gun.
Correct.
And you didn't see a firearm.
He was telling me to get off of his property, screaming accusations. I turned and ran.
He didn't have a firearm.
Everything they've said is lies.
You consciously lied to the police, and it could have been tragic.
This is Judy Justice. Donald Sullivan is suing his tenants, William Callahan and Aaron Crowcroft, for loss of income, a false restraining order, and filing of false police reports.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3109, Sullivan versus Callahan, Crowcroft.
Mr. Callahan, how long have you been a tenant of the plaintiffs?
I've personally been a tenant for 3 years. Aaron here has been a tenant for 11.
And you live together?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else live in the house?
My partner.
Okay. And how long has your partner been in the house?
Me and him have been in the house 12 years. We're the original tenants.
And are you a tenant of his?
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you pay in rent?
We pay $1,000 a month in rent.
You pay to Mr. Crowcroft?
No, I'm paying for the entirety of the rent myself.
Why is that?
Because he's mentally disabled and doesn't have a source of income right now, so I am his caretaker primarily.
Okay, let's start again. You've been living in the house for 11 years.
11 or 12, yeah. We moved in January 1st, 2012. That's our official move-in date.
And you have a partner?
Yes, I do.
Male or female?
Male.
Does that partner work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work?
Retail.
Sales?
Yes, retail sales like Walmart.
And what is the nature of your disability?
I'm severely bipolar with Asperger's syndrome and ADHD.
Did you ever work?
I've worked on and off, but I've never been able to maintain work. I've tried. I've never been able to.
Get Social Security?
Not yet, but I'm applying for it as we speak.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
How have you been supporting yourself?
My parents, and then he came into my life.
How did he come into your life?
We've known each other online for a very long time.
Does he get along with your partner?
Yes, very, very much so.
And what kind of work do you do?
I'm a truck driver.
You work for a company?
Yes, I work for a company.
Long haul?
I do a lot of the local, regional stuff, so all within the state of Wisconsin.
Okay. You don't go on trips longer than a day or two?
No, I'm usually home every night.
And how much do you earn at that job?
About $2,200 a week.
And what do you get paid for, and by whom, as a caretaker?
I don't get paid by anyone. I'm just helping him out, so I'm not officially his caretaker or anything, but as a friend, I'm just helping take care of him.
I got it. So you're not a caretaker of his. I misunderstood. Did you apply to be a caretaker?
No, ma'am.
No, because you're gone all day.
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Crowcroft is alone all day.
Yes, sir.
And his partner is in sales, so he's not there during the day.
Yes, sir.
And you pay the entire rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Sullivan, this is your claim. Your claim is that an incident occurred and the defendants alleged to the police that you had a gun and you were at home at the time. Police came to the house. There was a scene. They advised you probably by bullhorn to come out of the house with your hands up. Is that right?
Correct.
You did. You had no gun, but you were in fact taken into custody for that brief period of time. You allege falsely based on a false complaint of theirs to the police. The defendants acknowledge that they made a complaint to the police, but say that the police misunderstood them, that you had threatened them with a gun. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
When did this incident occur?
It was November 6th after midnight, so November 7th until about 3 a.m.
What year?
Of
2023.
Yeah, 2023.
Okay. Tell me first, who called the police?
I was the one who called the police that night.
All right, Mr. Callahan. Tell me what happened that night that caused you to call the police.
Originally, I had went to talk with his son because I had received a call from anonymous number.
From Mr. Sullivan's son?
No, not from Mr. Sullivan's son, but...
No, you went to talk to Mr. Sullivan's son.
Correct.
Is that his son?
No, we're talking about Donald John Sullivan.
Okay, so he's not here.
No, ma'am.
So you went to talk to his son, and where does his son live?
So according to the map there, our defendant's house, our house there.
Got it. So you left your house at what time?
I want to say it was about 11:45 p.m. on the 6th of, that was November.
Okay, so that was on the 6th of November. And what caused you to leave your house at 11:45?
I had, like I said, I had received an anonymous call that someone was investigating his son for the sale and possession of marijuana.
Okay, so you received a call.
Yes, Your Honor.
From someone you don't know. Did they leave a message, or was it an actual call that you picked up?
No, completely unavailable number.
Okay, and that the plaintiff's son, who lives in the middle of where you live and the plaintiff lives.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you must be friendly with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, we are. We're on good terms.
Must be if you went there and got this information. How come you didn't call him?
I have text messages to him, but unfortunately that phone was lost and destroyed, so I haven't been able to recover those yet, and I'm trying to. We're also trying to get his original police report about an assault that occurred.
Why is it that these lost phones always happen within weeks of a lawsuit? That is interesting to me.
Well, that one was actually replaced in December.
I don't care if it was replaced in December, it's just unfortunate for your proof.
Donald Sullivan claims his tenants, William Callahan and Aaron Crowcroft, filed a false police report and a false restraining order against him.
Okay, so you walked over to the plaintiff's son's house and told him you had received an anonymous call that somebody was selling marijuana out of his house.
No, that someone was purporting that he was selling marijuana out of his
Who was selling?
Donald John Sullivan.
I understand that marijuana was being sold out of his son's house.
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
We talked it over. After we talked it over, I returned back home. There was no issue at that point.
You didn't go over there because there was an issue. I gather you went over there because you were his friend and you wanted to alert him.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you went home. Come on, let me hear.
And then from there, I had gone back inside and leashed up my dog and then noticed I was out of cigarettes. So I had called him and was like, hey, do you have any cigarettes?
What do you mean you called whom?
Donald John Sullivan, the
So
son.
now you telephoned him
Yes,
after having gone over there to have a discussion about the call.
yes,
You telephoned him, you said, I'm out of cigarettes. So now this is 11, 12 o'clock.
correct, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
From there, I went back over to retrieve a cigarette for myself, and this is where the incident occurred. There was
Well, tell me what happened.
After he had given me a cigarette, I went to return. Mr. Sullivan was at the corner of the house.
Show me where.
So at the corner of the house here is where Mr. Sullivan was postponed because I feel he knew the position.
No, don't tell me what you feel. I don't care what you feel. You were between your house, right at the edge of where the plaintiff's son lives, and your house. So you went there to get a regular cigarette.
Yes, Your Honor.
And is marijuana legal in your state, by the way?
No.
No. You went there to get a cigarette at midnight, and you claim that the plaintiff came out
Yes, Your Honor.
of his house, and what happened?
I think you might have messed up the timeline there. The plaintiff didn't come out of his house. The plaintiff was already over here.
When you came to get the cigarette, the plaintiff was there already.
Yes.
Okay, so you called, and the plaintiff was already there. You said you're coming for a cigarette.
Yes, Your Honor.
Beginning to think that somebody is peeing on my leg. Go ahead.
And then...
And this is at midnight.
Yes, Your Honor.
Keep going.
Then from there, whenever I saw him, he immediately saw me, started screaming accusations.
Just a second. Come and step back here now for a moment. I want you to tell me what Mr. Sullivan said to you.
He was telling me to get off of his property and get out of his house.
Okay. And what did you say to him?
I did not say anything back. I turned and ran.
Okay, and?
From there, I ran through our houses to the road there.
Now you can go back.
So I ran from here.
Yes.
Up through the middle of our house and our garage here, down the neighbor's driveway.
Why'd you just go home?
I didn't feel like I would be safe at home.
Why?
I don't own any firearms or anything to protect
He didn't
me.
have a firearm.
I know, that's where the police messed up with
Just a second. Police didn't mess up. I want to know, you're running, but you ran past your house because you said you didn't have any firearms in your house. He didn't have a firearm, and you didn't see a firearm.
No, Your Honor.
So why would you worry about having a firearm in your house? How old are you?
32.
How old is he?
74.
Yeah. You understand I'm not buying your story.
Okay.
You do understand that I'm not buying your story. Back. Do you have a copy of the police report?
Yes, I
Police
do.
were called. The defendant, Mr. Callahan, acknowledges that he called the police. Mr. Crowcroft, you did not call the police.
No, I wasn't awake. I wasn't awake.
You did not call the police. Well, that's what this case is all about. Did you speak to the police? No. Well, Mr. Callahan, this is very clear in this police report. Actually, couldn't be clearer. The police were dispatched. It was not a mistake, as you allege, that the police didn't mistake anything. They were dispatched over a call that said that Mr. Sullivan pointed an AR-15 type rifle at him while speaking to the plaintiff's son. That's what it said in the police report. Now, I've read your answer to this, sir, and your answer suggests that the police got it wrong.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what the answer says. However, the police did an investigation, and I'm going to read to you what they say, sum and substance. Callahan, that would be you, admitted that he made up the incident because he feared for his roommate. I told Callahan that he was pathetic. Callahan stated he might as well blow his brains out and stated that it would do me a favor. Callahan was arrested, that would be you, for obstruction. The officers had conducted a follow-up because they were shown film footage, which evidently was from a Ring camera that the plaintiff's son has, showing the entire incident, which clearly suggested that there was no AR-15, There was no gun pointed at all. And when you were confronted with that footage, you said, all right, I made up the incident. That's what you said. This wasn't a question of the police getting the report wrong. You acknowledge you made up the incident. Okay. Mr. Sullivan, why are you suing Mr. Crowcroft?
For several things. For one, he cost me loss of income because I had a young lady that was going to rent my house for 15
Where is she?
She couldn't get off work.
Not interested in it.
I do have a certified statement.
I don't read certified statements, sir. Why are you suing him? We have the guy who made the false police report. He acknowledged it to the police that he made a false report. Why Mr. Crowcroft?
Well, because he was in on it. I mean, so far, everything they've said is lies. As far as the people that lived there, there's 4 people that were living there.
Okay, right now, all I have here is what you allege is a false arrest.
False arrest.
Your humiliation about that, and you are absolutely right, and you are entitled to be compensated for that.
And if you look on that police report, it was 7 days later that I found out. Other than that, I had to live with the fear that I was going to be arrested. I was ordered out of my house.
Just a second, I get it all, and I think that that's horrible, and he's going to pay for that. I'm trying to get to Mr. Crowcroft, why he's a defendant.
They also filed a false restraining order.
Who did?
Mr. Crowcroft and William, both.
Just a second. Forget about Callahan. He's already guilty.
Donald Sullivan has accused his tenants, William Callahan and Aaron Crowcroft, of lying to the police by claiming Donald was armed with an assault rifle.
He lied to the police. He lied to the police about a very serious situation because if things had been different, it's in the middle of the night. If you had some police officer who was nervous and you came out of the house, it could have been tragic, reporting that you had a serious weapon in the house in the middle of the night. He's already guilty. Crowcroft, did you file for a protective order?
He did for me, yes. He had my permission to do so, for a restraining order to keep him away from me.
Well, just a second. If you filed for a restraining order, on what date did you file for a restraining order?
William?
That was the 5th.
November 5th, 2023.
The day before this incident?
The day before the incident?
Just a second. The day before the incident. And on what basis did you file a restraining order against him?
William, what was the restraining order?
What was the basis? I'm asking you.
I don't know the details. He's the one who took care of the paperwork for me because I didn't understand it.
Who signed it? You?
Yeah, I did sign it.
Just a second. I'd like to see it.
I have it here, Your Honor.
By the way, when I'm looking at this, Mr. Sullivan, you both still living in the house, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a lease now, or is
There hasn't been a lease in 11 years. We only had one for the first year.
I got it. Okay. So you're a month-to-month tenant.
Yes.
When was the last time that rent was paid?
William?
That would be, oh geez, what are we in?
We're in January.
That was January 1st, 2024.
Of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
So they're up to date in their rent?
Yes.
Now, I don't see what the basis was for your protective order.
For the protective order, we ordered it because in the previous year...
No. I want to know him, not you. Him.
Why was it filed? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, you need facts for a protective order.
Because Donald followed me around. He was harassing me. He would not leave me alone. He kept coming over, asking questions, and just being rude. I would be sitting in the garage. He'd come walking up, and he'd be demanding things out of me, and just... He knows I'm bipolar, and he knows that kind of interaction is very hard for me.
I think you should move, actually. I actually think that you should move.
I'd love to.
Well, you should. You're not paying any rent. You might as well not pay rent someplace else. Take them with you. If you have issues and they're exacerbated by the plaintiff, move. You've been there 12 years. You got somebody else to pay the rent. Move. Okay. Anyway, the maximum jurisdiction for this court. And I'm dismissing your case against Mr. Crowcroft. Do you understand?
Okay.
Nothing happened was a result of this protective order. What happened to you was a result of Mr. Callahan's false reporting to the police that you had a weapon, which could have resulted in a tragedy which caused you to be removed from your home, as per directed by the police. You say that neighbors came out, I'm sure when the police arrived. There was more than one police car or just one?
5.
5 police cars. At what time in the night?
12:30.
In the morning?
Yes.
Yeah, frightening. Frightening for anybody. More frightening for somebody in their 70s, and absolutely outrageous because you consciously lied to the police. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I'm not truly in agreement with them because the police did try to bring up charges against me, but they dropped those because they found the video was edited.
I was very happy with it.
There's a lot of information that was missed out on.
I hope it sets an example for people that make false police reports.
Mr. Sullivan's always been a very hostile person, and this is just a continuation of that.
The incident happened the day after they were served their eviction by the sheriff's department.
No, the eviction was thrown away, and his son actually took over the property and has begun remaking the repairs because his eviction was retaliatory against us for calling code enforcement because the house is just withering away, and he just sits there with his hands folded and does nothing.
Well, I was ordered to come out of the house with my hands above my head.
At that time, I didn't see a firearm in his hand. What I had reported to the police was I was approached aggressively by Mr. Sullivan.
And I said it's a very serious matter. When I come out of the house, they ordered me to lift up my shirt and turn around and told me that they'd probably be coming back to arrest me.
I told them to be wary. He does own firearms, and they took that as me saying he had a firearm that night.
I was accused of pointing an AR-15 at a tenant that I'm trying to evict.
I never claimed anything about an AR-15 with the report. I just stated to the police on the phone that he had weapons.
My little sister was crying in the house because she thought my dad was going to jail. I was calling up my family, telling them that we might need to go somewhere because I thought my dad was going to jail.
Don't lie to the police, and definitely do something about your roommates being assaulted before it's too late.
I'm just happy to be alive, and I'm happy to have it over with.
Very surprising to me that after doing this investigation, which was clear from the police report that I read, and he confessed to lying to the police to get the police to the house, lying about somebody having an automatic weapon, that they didn't arrest him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he might have said they did arrest him, but then they didn't end up charging him.
Right.
But I'm surprised that they didn't follow through on charges. I mean, he's just lucky that on the way to the home, 5 police cars speeding, didn't hit anybody, hit another vehicle, get in an accident. Lucky nothing more serious happened to the plaintiff either as a result of the false reporting, because then it's not just an oopsie. Then you have a big problem on your hands because of a lie that you told police knowingly.
Yeah.
So
it is surprising to me that they didn't follow through.
Yeah, I thought
they dispatched 5 police cars. That alone should have made the police annoyed enough to at least follow through.
Exactly. I thought that was a more serious crime, reporting falsely to the police, than they seem to have treated it as.
Yeah.
Case number 3107, Murphy versus Beard. All parties, please come forward.
Jennifer Murphy is suing her car renter, Lindsay Beard, for missed payments and damage to her vehicle.
Miss Murphy, several years ago you were planning to go out of the country. When were you planning to go out of the country?
December 2018.
And you had a car at the time, a car that you were making payments on?
Yes.
That had a loan on it?
Yes.
And what were the loan payments every month?
There were $375.68.
And what year car was it?
It's a 2013.
So it's 11 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2018, you made an arrangement with the defendant, who you knew how?
My sister's client.
She needed a car. You were introduced. You made an arrangement with her in 2018 to rent your car that you both acknowledge for $375.68 a month?
$374.68, and it was in 2020.
It was in 2020?
Yeah, the date was January 5th, 2020.
Is that the date you made the arrangement?
Yes.
And is there a contract for the
There
lease
is,
of this
right
car?
here.
I'd like to take a look at it, please.
Here you go. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so let's read the terms of this agreement. First one is payment of $374.68 via Zelle. Now, with regard to that provision of the lease agreement, you returned the car on what date?
I picked it up on October 24th.
2023.
Mm-hmm.
So she had the car 2.5 years.
More like 3.5 years.
And in those 3.5 years, you were out of the country.
Yes.
Part of your claim here is that she failed to make several payments.
Mm-hmm.
She says she has all the payments.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gone over the payments with each other so that you can check your accounts?
No, I mean, I have my printed Zelle from my bank, and she has a spreadsheet that she was filling out each month that she received a payment.
You have that?
I do, yes.
Yes. And you acknowledge that?
That I had sent her the spreadsheet each month. I also have the emails of the Zelle payments, and I am missing the 8 payments from her, so I'm curious. She never explained that.
I'm not curious. You're going to go outside with my clerk, and you're going to go through these. You don't expect me to go through 3.5 years of car payments, do you? Now, if you don't want to waste my time, we can acknowledge that they were either paid or we can move on to the next action. What's your pleasure?
I don't believe they were paid.
Okay. Sarah, go deal with them. Math is not my strong suit, and this kind of nonsense is not worth my time. Go figure out if there were any missed payments that they can prove, will you please?
Yeah.
Thank you. She is correct.
Jennifer Murphy claims defendant Lindsay Beard rented her car for years and damaged the vehicle.
Sarah?
Okay, so there was a total of 11 missed payments that the defendant had no proof that she had paid. However, there were months that the plaintiff admitted where she paid more or double to make up for missing months, which she credited in the spreadsheet that I looked at. So there were a total of 8 missed payments, not including those, makeup payments that she had made.
Did you total that?
I did, totaling to $2,997.44.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm reading the lease, so that was the first thing. So on that, you owe $29.97. Lessee will not drive more than 2,000 miles per month. There's no problem indicated in your petition about that, so that she's complied with the terms of this lease. Will keep up with all regular maintenance of the vehicle. You have any proof that she didn't do that?
Well, beside my car, when I got it back, it was not in a very good condition.
You left it 3.5 years. The car's 11 years old. She had to have changed the oil periodically if she had it 3.5 years. The fact that your car is now older and it was driven by somebody else 3.5 years, there's a certain amount of wear and tear on a car, and things break down unless you have a mechanic who's going to tell me that you did something to the car, which I assume. Are you a mechanic?
No.
No.
I also have all the records of me going and doing that.
Not necessary.
So.
It's her burden of proof.
Absolutely.
It's good that you have the paperwork as a defense that you took care of the car. Will carry full insurance coverage. Did you do that? There's no allegation that you did not. Will not allow other persons to drive the car. There's not an allegation in here that she did and let other people use the car. Violation of this cause for immediate termination, and that's it. So far, I have $2,997. Now, she returned the car because she came back to the country. Okay, on what date did she return the car?
I picked it up on October 24th, 2023.
And where did you go with the car?
Immediately, I went back to my
house. To your residence?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Did you take the car out again on October 24th?
No.
When was the next time you took it someplace?
On October 26th, I took it to the dealership.
Why?
To have it inspected.
Just a second.
Okay.
My question is, why did you take it to the dealership? Because if you drove it home and there was something wrong with it, you would have taken it immediately to the dealership if you found something wrong with it. You didn't take it to the dealership the 24th. You didn't take it to the dealership on the 25th. Why did you take it on the 26th? Just to check it out?
No, I did notice things immediately wrong with it.
What?
For one, the AC wasn't working, the car wasn't locking.
What does that mean, car wasn't locking?
When I used the fob, it wouldn't lock, it was doing nothing.
It was doing nothing, but you were driving with it. It was just that electrical thing that wouldn't open and close. Did you put a new battery in the fob?
No.
No. That's the first thing I do. When it doesn't open, it doesn't close, these things go, you take it in, costs $5, you put in a new battery and you close it and then it locks. It's not as if the car didn't work. Okay, what else?
The door sensors weren't working as well.
I don't know what that means, the door sensors.
It looks like my car door is always open on the electrical component. So there's just a lot of weird electrical things going on with it.
You have any proof to demonstrate to me that she caused any of this problem?
So I found out she had a DUI while she was using my car, and she lied to my sister about it, telling her that I knew about it, that she had told me about it, but I had no idea.
But she didn't keep it a secret. She told your sister.
She did tell my sister.
And that's how you met her?
Yes.
So if she told your sister, she wasn't keeping it a secret from you?
Well, she didn't tell me either.
I don't care, but she wasn't keeping it a secret. She told the person who actually brought the deal together.
Well, she lied to my sister also.
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm asking you a question. Proof that this electrical wonking was her fault.
Well, I had seen in the court documents on her DUI that she was ordered to install an IID, an ignition interlock device, which she did on my vehicle, had it installed and uninstalled. And in that, you have to cut the wiring to...
I don't know if you have to. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a yoga instructor.
Well, unless you're a car mechanic, you're not going to testify as to what they have to do when they install a piece of equipment. By the way, just tell me what month and year you had a DUI.
It was February or March of 2020.
But you had the car for 3 years after that.
I did, yes.
Listen to me. 3 years after that. And she is correct that you had to have a machine installed.
I had to have the interlock, yes.
Okay. That if you breathe into something, if your breath smelled from alcohol, the engine wouldn't start.
Yes, it's connected to the battery.
Okay. And you did have that installed. How long was that in the car?
Almost the entire time I had the car.
After
getting arrested. So about a month later after me getting the car, I had to have the installation put in.
Okay. And when did you have it taken out?
Actually, 3 or 4 days before she picked the car up.
Okay. And who took it out for you?
The same company that put it in.
Okay, fine. I'm just telling you that, Miss Murphy, because if you think that you can prove a case of negligence against a company, it's not her. She neither put it in or took it out. Got it? She owes you $2,997. And she owes you that for the missed payments that she can't prove she made, that you say on your spreadsheet she missed, and that Sarah confirmed. Anything else? No. Good. Thank you very much. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Currently, my car's dead. It's not operating because of the electrical damage.
There is no damage to the car.
I do think it's the wiring, and I know it hooks up to the starter because we've been researching it. She's saying the battery, but it's the starter, and it did render it inoperable.
I mean, I watched the guy do it. They go in through the panel, they connect it to the battery, and it's done in 30 minutes.
My car is my car. No one's gonna be borrowing it.
I'm just glad it's done.
Really trying to keep me on my toes there. I know math is not your strong suit, but you also passed that gene down to me, so I find it interesting that you just farm out all the math skills over here.
Well, first of all, you're the clerk. I'm the judge.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it. I'll do it all day long, all day long.
And you figured it out.
I did. No,
Would have probably taken me a lot longer.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, you don't have it here, you don't have it. It doesn't exist, so made it easy.
Keith Pasquarello is suing his former landlord, Brandon Hubbard, for destruction of property, a security deposit, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3037, Pasquarello versus Hubbard.
Oh, my goodness. Mr. Pasquarello, you all seem to have a lot of things that you brought to me, and I actually think that you're all overthinking this case. I, however, am not overthinking it. It's relatively simple. You rented a room from the defendant in a house that you own.
Yes, ma'am.
It didn't work out. They didn't like he and his girlfriend? Fiance. Didn't get along with you. You didn't get along with them. You had problems with each other's lifestyles. You are no longer there, and you want your security deposit back, which I, of course, will entertain. But you're asking for emotional distress, nuisance, filing a false restraining order, harassment. That's not happening. I want you to get over that. You had a tenancy that didn't work out. And if it didn't work out, and if you didn't do anything to the property, you're entitled to your security deposit back. You moved in when?
December 1st.
What do you do for a living?
I own a company.
What kind of company?
It's a janitorial company.
For how long?
Approximately 9 years.
Do you have employees?
Yes.
How many?
Approximately 20.
You pay him on the books or off the books?
On.
Was this an interim room that you were renting from him, or were you planning on staying here for a long time?
It was a 6-month lease.
Is there any reason why you took a room, if you have a company for 9 years with 20 employees, that you pay on the books, that you were living in a room?
Yes, I'm going through a divorce. I moved to Los Angeles 2007 and got with my wife for 15 years. We're going through a divorce, and during the pandemic, she was raised in Riverside, so I had to follow her all the way to Riverside because she has 3 of my children. I don't have any family or friends here on this side of the country. I'm from Florida. So I was by myself, and I had to rent a room by myself.
And the children stayed with their mother in the house, in your property?
Yes, we are currently going through a custody battle.
So what you're telling me is that a room was what you could afford?
That's all I could afford at the moment. We're still going through community property.
Okay. So you found his room.
I was moving from one house to another because they were selling their home. The housing market is very, very bad right now. It's very hard to find rent in what I can afford. So I found his, along with 2 others, and I liked his location, and I moved in under the lease agreement that he presented to me.
Okay. So he presented a lease agreement to you. You signed it. You have a copy of it.
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Your Honor, there's a couple of discrepancies with
Just a second.
Sorry.
I didn't ask you anything yet. There are no discrepancies. He rented a room from you and he signed a lease. I asked him to see the lease.
He started moving his belongings in November 13th of 22.
And?
And he officially moved himself in on December 1st.
Why is that important?
When he moved in, he brought a refrigerator into the house that was infested with roaches.
Just a second. Do you have a copy of the lease?
Yes, I do.
I'm trying to go through it. I have so much here that...
I know, you have a lot there.
Okay. Here it is. I found it, by the way.
All right, there's a very big lease with your signature on it on November 7th. Okay, so now I have the lease. You moved in on December 12th. When did you move out?
When my girlfriend got back from her trip from Spain and Italy is when I was able to move, because she was able to help me. I couldn't do it by myself. I don't remember the exact date.
You have the date when he moved out?
Yes. So I have a timeline here. 4/21, he moved out, and at that point...
Okay, 4/21.
Yep.
And what was the monthly rent, sir?
$1,000.
And how much was your security?
$500. If I could say, Your Honor, I'm not here because we had a little spat.
No, I know you didn't have a spat. It was a terrible 4 months.
It's a breach of a lease, Your Honor. I mean, they had 3 rules. It says it right here in his lease, 3 rules and regulations. And on the 17th, I got a new set of rules. Then I was only told I can do my laundry once a week. Then I was told that my girlfriend couldn't stay past 9 o'clock. The rules were changing as they went on, making my life a living hell.
Well, then you move. How old are you?
I'm going to be 50, and this
You're
is my
going to be
very
50.
first...
Just a second. You're going to be 50.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, rules are what people live by. I assume that that's one of the reasons that you're going through a divorce and you have custody, unless it was a girlfriend or a boyfriend. I don't know which one it was, and I actually don't care. What I'm telling you is, if something is terrible and you're 50 years old, you say, I'm done here. I'm leaving.
I was going to do that, Your Honor. I was looking for places to stay. The housing market is almost impossible in my...
So what is... That's not his fault. That's your fault.
It's not his fault for taking away my quiet peace and enjoyment of life? Filming me with my cameras in the house, not telling me I'm being monitored?
Let me explain something to you, sir. You're a big boy. I say this to people all the time. You don't like where you're staying? Move. Sometimes I have sympathy for somebody who is really down and out, and they say, I really can't cobble the money together to find month's rent and a month's security. I was trying to save my money. That's not in your case. You've had a business for 9 years with 20 employees who you pay on the books, and you have 3 children. So that's not your situation. What I'm telling you is, not everything is a lawsuit. And I know that you're suing him for $10,000 because he violated the peaceful enjoyment of your life. Okay? Move.
Keith Pasquarello claims his former landlord, Brandon Hubbard, destroyed his property and harassed him. Brandon is countersuing for pest control fees and filing a false restraining order.
You're a grown man. You run a big business. You're not supposed to stay in a place that's terrible.
Judge, the business is in community property right now, and...
I don't care. That's not his fault.
I don't own the full business. I don't get the full money.
Hey, I'm telling you, I asked you what you did. You said, I own a business. I have 20 employees. It's a janitorial business, and I needed a place right away. I took his room, and what I'm telling you is, you have a car?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Where does your girlfriend live?
She lives 2 cities away.
Okay, well.
But there's another aspect of this, Your Honor. That's why there's so much evidence up here. I was being harassed so much that I didn't know what to do anymore. I was given advice by an attorney, stop paying him, and you will deal with it when you go to the unlawful detainer hearing, and we'll see if it gets solved there.
You went to an attorney? Just a second.
Yes.
You consulted with an attorney who gave you advice?
Yes.
Is this an attorney that you knew who worked for you? Or is this someone that you found that was a specialist in this field of landlord and tenant?
It's someone that was a specialist in this field.
Yeah,
Problem is, this is Riverside and this is Los Angeles. He's a Los Angeles.
I don't care. Now, lawyers don't work for free. What did he charge you?
Nothing. It was a consultation.
Charged you nothing for a consultation?
It was a 20-minute conversation.
20 minutes?
Yes.
I get a bill for 20 minutes for $750. I don't know how you got your consultation for nothing. So, and I don't necessarily believe it, but I actually find it amusing for a lawyer to tell you, well, stop paying rent, and you'll deal with it when you come up with an unlawful detainer because you are staying without paying rent.
Your Honor, I filed an incident with Fair Housing. I called the police 4 times.
I'm telling you to move.
I couldn't move, Your Honor.
What are you?
I couldn't move. I couldn't
Okay,
move.
Mr. Pascarella, I can't help you, sir. You want your security deposit back? I have to see if you left a mess. If you didn't leave a mess, then you get your $500 security back. Except, I have a question. Did you pay December's rent?
Yes, yes.
Did you pay January's rent?
Yes.
February?
Yes.
March?
You did not pay February.
Don't speak. Sorry. March's rent.
I didn't pay March or April, but it was already litigated.
No. I don't care. You moved out April 21.
Yes.
Did you pay March's rent? I'm going to ask you for proof.
I don't believe I paid March's
Okay,
rent.
so you didn't pay March's rent of $1,000. So already you don't get your security deposit back.
But he was already awarded this in a previous case.
What? Previous case?
In the previous case, he was awarded in the unlawful detainer hearing. The judge granted him March and April.
Oh, so he got March and April's rent?
Yeah, he got March and he didn't receive it.
And just a second. Yeah. Did you pay him March and April's rent?
No, I haven't. Not at the moment.
Well, I'm not an appellate court. You have to go get that from someplace, sir. You have to get that from him. You have to file a judgment. You have to attach his business. You have to do what you have to do. If the judge awarded you March and April, which I would have considered. Anyway, Mr. Pascarella, I'm done with your case. I'm going to get to the counterclaim. You're not entitled to security deposit back because you didn't pay rent for 2 months. Okay, now let's get to your counterclaim. You had a hearing before a judge in an unlawful detainer?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and you testified? Speak.
Sorry.
Not we, that's either a yes or a no. Did you testify?
Yes.
Somebody say, raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth? And judge asked you questions?
Yes.
And you answered questions?
Correct.
Did the same thing for him?
Yes.
And they ordered him to pay the 2 months' rent?
Yes.
And then he left?
Yes.
And he's no longer living with you as of April 21st?
Correct.
Okay. What did you tell that judge that he owed you aside from rent? Is not an answer. What did you tell the judge that he owed you other than March and April's rent?
I told the judge that he owed me for the court harassment hearings.
Now, just a second. I'd like to see where you not from a book that you have.
Sorry.
Show me where you told the judge other things that you were claiming he did, including the parking fines in the development.
So this is everything that he owes me here.
I didn't ask you for everything he owes you. That's not what I asked you. I said, what did you tell the judge in the previous hearing that he owed you?
I only asked for the back rent due.
Oh, so what are you showing me?
This was for the small claims case.
Just a second. So after you went before a housing court to get him out because he hadn't paid rent, you went to small claims court.
I was just responding to a civil case that he had filed against me.
Well, his civil case is dismissed. Okay?
That's what
He hasn't paid a judgment that he owes. May I see that, please?
Your Honor, he also asked the judge. Okay, he also, okay.
Just a second.
Sure.
Okay. Value of the remainder of the lease. That you're not getting.
Okay.
You happy to see him go?
Yes.
Great, he's gone. Court filing fees. I may think about that because he stopped paying rent on the advice of some idiot lawyer. that he followed, this man who owns a business. Sheriff's filing fees, what fees were that for? For
That's
the unlawful
to serve
detainer?
him the eviction paperwork to post it on the door.
Crisis management fees, what is that?
That was for my advice to, like, with the lawyer.
Ah, you don't get that. A valve that went over something?
Oh, his parking ticket.
Yeah, he got a parking fine when he was living there.
Oh, well, I have that. A parking fine.
Yes.
Are you responsible for that?
Yes, I already paid it. I have
All
the
right,
receipt
can I
here.
see how much was the parking fine?
The parking fine was $50.
Okay. Did you know that you got a violation, sir, Mr. Pasquarella, when you were parking?
Yes, Judge, I would love to explain that. In one of the text messages that I have, Allie, his fiance, threatened to have my car ticketed. I have been living at Canyon Lake for 3 years. I had never even came close to getting a ticket. Ironically, 2 weeks later, I get a ticket right after she threatens to have my car ticketed to the POA. Now, to my understanding, she's been in Canyon Lake for a very, very long time, since she was a little girl, and she has relationships there. I
don't know that. You can't prove any of that, sir. You got a ticket.
So
you got a ticket. They have a picture. You have a car that the license plate is.
I also have a text message of her saying she's going to
Just a
get my
second.
car
I'm just
ticket.
asking you whether that's your license plate.
Yes, it is. When the harassment wouldn't stop,
His former landlord, Brandon Hubbard, of destroying his property and harassing him. Brandon is countersuing for breaching the lease and filing a false restraining order.
This is a filing fee for small claims court. That you're not getting.
Your Honor, I wouldn't have to have
Writ
any
of
of this money
possession
out of
is
pocket.
$40. Is that what you're talking about, the writ of possession?
Yes.
That you're entitled to, because you stopped paying rent. So far, he owes you $90 for the filing fee.
And then I have another receipt for no return of the POA ID card or the POA decal for his car.
What is that?
Because we live in a gated community, you have an ID card that they give you and a decal that they put on your car so you don't get tickets. Or if you
And?
do get a ticket, they know whose house to send it to. And that was $100 each, and I have a receipt for that.
Can I see what he's showing you?
And it says his name right at the top.
Did you pay this bill?
I did.
Would you please, Kevin, show this to the plaintiff? You know what that's for? It's your name on it.
It's a POA card. That card was thrown away in the trash. I mean, I don't have no use for it.
Then that's a problem. Then you owe him $200. That's $290. Anything else, sir?
I believe that the small claims fee is...
Forget it. I'm not giving you the small claims fee. Let's go. Let's go.
I lost another tenant due to Keith's behavior.
Let's go. Let's go.
And
let's move on. Move on.
He owes me $900 in lost rent from that other tenant.
No, he doesn't.
Because he's
I said let's move on.
Okay.
So far, he owes you $290.
And the court harassment filing fees. They're charging me $450 to respond to a restraining order that he put forth.
Oh, just a minute. Did you file a restraining order against him?
I sure did.
Okay. And when did you file that?
I don't remember the exact date.
Do you have the date? If you don't remember the date, do you have the date?
It was January 28th.
January 28th.
That was the day I was served with the paperwork. And
of 2023.
Yes. My witness was also served with one, too.
Just a second. My question, Mr. Pasquarella. You moved out in April of 2022?
23, he moved out.
23. And when did you file this harassment case against him for an order of protection?
I don't remember the exact date.
Well, can I see the papers, please?
I believe I have them here.
When the harassment wouldn't stop, I filed a restraining order.
Okay, so March 27th. That's a response. Hold on. Let's see if I have the actual filing date.
Can I see it, please?
2023. Here's the receipt for the $145 for the evictions process.
I can't hear a word you're saying, sir. I'm reading.
Okay.
Well, this is your filing against him.
So I did file one a month later, once he started getting aggressive.
Okay, so he filed one and you filed one. So you both bothered the courts.
Yes.
Both of you. What happened with those cases?
His was...
Don't speak from your chair. Do you hear me? What happened with those cases?
They were both dropped.
Mine was dismissed by the judge. The judge said
were they both dismissed?
They were both
yes, they were both dismissed.
That's the answer. You owe him, Mr. Pascarella, $290. We are finished. Your claim is dismissed. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Throwing my property away, you know, blaming me for a roach problem they already had.
He moved a little mini fridge in that apparently was roach infested.
I was done with it months ago, many months ago, but unfortunately I couldn't move. I'm in a town where, you know, I don't have any friends or family to help me. I just met my girlfriend, and I'm not going to bring this you know, luggage on her. So
he was trying to squat for free in order to save money to move somewhere else. I don't know what he was trying to do.
I'm ready to move forward, but the thing I'm disappointed about is not even the money necessarily. It's about there's no protection for tenants.
Watch out and really understand your lease before you sign it.
You know, Sarah, I understand that you don't completely agree with the premise that I start from.
Sure.
If you hate where you're living and you have any capability at all, you shouldn't stay there. And then if you leave and your landlord sues you for breach of the lease because you've moved out, and if you have a legitimate reason why you moved out, that you were being harassed, that your landlord was a peeping Tom, that he would come into your house at night and go through your underwear drawers, whatever it was, and we've had all of those, then you entertain that and say you hate an absolute right to break his lease. I don't get, and the example that I always give and have given for a quarter of a century is, if you go to a restaurant and you order a sirloin steak and the waiter brings it over and you cut it and you taste it, you say, oh my God, this steak is bad. And you proceed to finish the steak, and when the bill comes, you say, it was the worst steak I ever ate, I'm not paying the bill. Not in my world. In my world, if you cut into the steak and say, you know what, I'm not eating this steak that costs $42, bring me a bowl of Cheerios for $12, that I can understand, and that's fair. But if you stay in the house and eat the steak, and there's not something that really prohibits you. I mean, if you're somebody who's challenged and you're living in a small group home, it's not easy for you to find another facility. That's a whole different ball of wax. This is a man who says he's a CEO of a company with 20 employees. That's what he told me. And he's living in a place where he feels harassed and his girlfriend can't stay past 9 o'clock. You know, I have zero sympathy for that.
I can appreciate that. I think just the undertones, this particular situation, I may agree with you a little bit more after hearing your reasoning, but I do think it can be more challenging than you and I realize on occasion to move. I mean, that can be a big deal. And of course, he held himself out as a CEO with 20 employees in what he said was successful business. I'm thinking that that wasn't the case, and he was a little maybe too embarrassed to state that, but that was my position. So
yeah, but that's the answer.
If you have the opportunity to leave, that's what you should do. I agree with that.
And he left. And he came here with his girlfriend. Now, I don't know if they're living in the same place now, but certainly she would come to visit him. That was one of the things that he was objecting to, that you couldn't stay past 9 o'clock. Well, so you put your tushy in the car and you go to her house, which is 2 cities away. I have zero sympathy. If you ate the steak, you're supposed to pay for it.
Wanda Lucero is suing her niece's former landlord, Lawrence Block, for property damage and pain and suffering.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3011, Lucero versus Block.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Lucero, this is your sister.
Yes.
And she has a daughter.
Yes.
Her daughter is challenged.
Yes.
She and your daughter, according to what I read, were living together. And there came a time when your sister decided that it was best for her to go into a senior community.
That's correct.
Leaving her daughter to find another place to live. When was that?
In March of 22.
Have you always been involved with the care of both your sister and her daughter?
More recently, or more actively in the past year.
How old is your niece?
38.
So you started to look for a facility for her, someplace where she would be safe. And you were referred by whom to the defendant's group home?
Well, it turned out my daughter had paid for her another month's rent at where they were living so we could figure out what we were going to do. And the owner of that place told her she wanted her out now. So she was actually homeless for a week.
You mean your niece?
Yes. And it turned out she got an infection and she had to go to the hospital. And so when she got discharged from the hospital, they're the ones that found his organ.
So the social worker at the hospital was instrumental in finding the defendant's facility?
Yes.
Your lawsuit is alleging that you had to, because of circumstances which you will tell me about, take her out of the defendant's group home. It is a group home, I assume, sir?
Yeah.
And you had to do that relatively quickly, and there was some sort of a kerfuffle with the defendant where he scratched your car, destroyed some of the property that your niece had. Mr. Block, in his answer, has a whole different scenario, which he's going to tell me about. On what date, Mr. Block, did the plaintiff's niece come to live in your group home?
I am
You don't
not
know.
sure on the date.
You don't know. On what date?
March 14th of 2022.
I want you to describe the group home that you run, Mr. Block. How many residents do you have?
I have anywhere from 8 to 10 at most times. It's for psychological disabled.
8 to 10?
Yes.
Okay. And describe the house. Give me the address.
It's San Bernardino, California, 92404.
Okay, Sarah, you look that up for me, please. Sure. And are you registered or licensed with the state?
With the city.
With the city of San Bernardino?
I'm a room and board.
I'll ask questions.
Okay.
You give me answers.
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
The answer is you're licensed by the city?
Correct.
As what?
As room for rent.
Just a room for rent?
That's the only qualification.
Just don't tell me what the only qualification is. You're licensed by the city to rent rooms in this house.
Correct.
Now, the plaintiff was referred to your boarding house, because it's not a facility, it's a boarding house, by the hospital. Do you know how the hospital got the name of your boarding house? Did you give it to the hospital?
The county collects a list of room and boards.
Boarding houses?
Yes.
And how many rooms are you permitted to rent in your house?
5.
It's a 5-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet. I have photos if you want to see.
Do you also live there, sir?
No.
Who else lives there?
It would be a house manager and residents.
A house manager?
Yes.
Is the manager also a tenant?
Yes. It's on-grounds manager 24 hours.
Okay, so you have somebody who's a resident who rents a room from you and who acts as the manager of the property.
Correct.
Okay. How much was the rent you were paying?
Well, it varied. It started out at like $750.
And your niece shared a room with someone?
Yes.
With the manager.
In the end.
Just a sec. Well, that's okay. She shared a room with somebody.
Correct.
Now, Ms. Lucerno, according to what I read, you tried to keep close tabs on your niece, and you went to pick her up, and there was something that happened that was disturbing. When was that?
On November 30th, I went over there. She had doctor's appointments that day, so I went to pick her up, and before we left her bedroom, she opened her purse and flung some undergarments to the house manager whom she shared the room with. So when we got in the car, I asked her, I said, Liz, what are you doing with her undergarments in your bag? And she said, well, we had been to Walmart and she asked me to put them in there. And I'm like, so you stole them? And she goes, I don't know. I go, yeah, she had you steal them. So that was the straw. There was a lot of other things that went on throughout her stay there, but that was the final straw.
And you went back to remove her property?
Yes.
That day?
Yes.
And describe to me what time you went there and what happened.
I would say around 3, maybe.
Had you notified anyone that you were taking your niece out of the residence?
No.
Okay, so it was about 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And?
So we went in there. I had hefty bags. We bagged up all her belongings. And then...
Was her roommate there?
Yes.
So the house manager was there?
Yes.
Okay. Did the house manager call you and let you know on that date that she was moving out? Yes.
Yes.
Of course. Okay. And where were you, by the way, when she called you?
I was at a community hospital interviewing a potential new client.
Okay. So how far away were you from the house when you got the call from the house manager?
Just driving distance or?
Traveling distance.
Traveling distance would be about half hour.
Okay. Now, it took you a half hour to get back to the property. Did you come directly back to the property?
I finished my interview, then did, yes.
How long did that take?
It was about an additional 15 to 20 minutes with the interview.
So maybe 45 minutes later, you showed up at the house.
I would say About an hour.
So when you showed up at the house, what was the purpose of coming to the house?
Well, there was an issue skipped in between that. Before I came to the house, I had gotten a call from my son. He said that some lady had blocked him into the driveway because he was doing an errand for me at the house.
Stand up. Over here.
It was
Wanda Lucero claims her niece's former landlord, Lawrence Block, owes for property damage and pain and suffering.
You called your father and said someone was blocking you in?
Yes, they, with their vehicle, they had blocked the driveway.
Okay. Were they loading property?
No.
What were they doing?
They expressly went to block me into the driveway.
Really?
Yeah.
They were trying to get away. Why would they stand there and do nothing and block you from... Don't speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would they just block you, sir, if what they were trying to do is get the property and leave? Why would they block you? Can you figure that out?
Yes, if I may. They saw that I was not a normal resident and assumed that I had something to do with the management of the property and were insisting that I let them into places such as the garage and...
Just a second. The plaintiff was asking you to let her into the garage?
Yes.
Did you say, why do you want to go into the garage?
No.
Did she tell you there was a piece of property there that belonged to her niece?
I wasn't listening to her.
What do you mean you weren't listening? What were you doing?
He's not involved in the property.
Would you be quiet?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your witness.
Yes,
you
Your
brought him here. So you weren't listening as to what she said to you?
Yes.
Why?
I have no pertinence to the
Sit
things
down.
going on.
Sit down. Anyway, you got there, and there was a kerfuffle when you got there. So now he's gone. Did you finally let him out?
Nope.
Were you blocking his car?
Yes, I was.
Tell me why.
Well, my niece...
I'm not speaking to you. You have to understand.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
You have to understand. I've been involved in your kind of businesses, not personally, but have had involvement with those businesses for a very, very long time.
They do have a bad reputation.
They sure do. And if something like that smells, which you say it has a bad reputation, if you're involved in that bad stuff, smell sticks.
And I say one thing and...
I'm not finished yet. I want to know why you blocked his son's car.
Well, I needed to get that item out of the garage.
What item?
It's a clothes hamper, and it had some random things in it.
Who put it in the garage?
I guess his house manager. The garage is off limits to the residents.
Do you know why?
I know
why
he
is the
keeps...
garage off limits to residents, sir?
To secure food preparation items, because we room and board, so we provide the food as well. If we didn't have it in a secured area, then it would be gone every week before we could make our meals, so we have to secure it in there. And it's also used for when residents move out to secure their items and put it in there so the other residents don't go through it, because they have a tendency, once they hear somebody's moving, to go through it and pillage everything.
So she's looking for her niece's hamper.
Yes, some items.
No, she's looking for her niece's hamper.
Okay.
Everything else was packed up in garbage bags. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the only thing that remained was the hamper.
Correct.
That you wanted to get. He shows up.
Hysterically.
Well, right now you're blocking his son in his car so he can't leave, whatever that means. Yeah. By the way, when she blocked your car in, did you go back into the house and call your father?
I remained outside. I called him inside of my car.
When you received the phone call from your son, I want you to tell me what he said to you.
He said some lady is yelling at me about getting into the garage, and then she parked behind me and won't let me leave. What do you want me to do? I said,
so you came
I'll
home.
be right there.
And when you came home to the house, tell me exactly what you saw.
Her dark utility vehicle at the end of the driveway blocking my son who was parked on the driveway.
And what did you do?
I was pretty fumed at that point. Somebody, involving my kid in something like that and holding him hostage of sorts. And so I was pretty irate. I started telling her, you got to move. This is illegal for you to be here. And she would argue back.
Just a second. Did she tell you, Mr. Block, that all she wanted was the hamper from the garage?
Yes.
Did you give it to her?
Not at that point.
Why?
At that point, all of her belongings wasn't at that same location.
No, listen to me, sir. Answer my question. She asked you for the hamper There's no question she did. And she said it's in the garage. Why didn't you give it to her? Did you not give it to her because you were angry at that point?
Yes. I was arguing with
You
her
were
and I didn't want to cooperate with somebody who's holding my son hostage.
He wasn't hostage. He was in his car, and his father was there. Sit. So you were angry.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you knew that the plaintiff's niece is a challenged child.
Yes, all of our residents are.
And the scene that you made by not giving her the hamper was in front of her niece who was in the car.
It was both ways. She was arguing and yelling and using profanity as well. It was a back and forth. It wasn't a one-way situation like that. It was an ongoing argument between each other. And eventually I did break it off and disengage to go talk to my son. And at that point is when I figured out how to get his car out of there.
I'm going to look at the video. Did you bring me the video or did she?
I did.
I'd like to see it.
Genius human being.
Okay.
And by the way, the bag sitting in the back.
Absolutely brilliant.
Of the car is where I sat the bag.
Yeah, this is a good idea of justice. Blocking the driveway, calling the cops for no reason. Smart human being. Genius.
That was the entirety.
Who's taking the picture?
My son.
So he was outside his car.
At the moment, yeah.
Taking a photograph, hardly hostage. I want you to tell me what you did. Did you put your hands on the car?
No. Oh, yes.
Did you put your hands on the car?
On the handle, yes.
Well, that's the car. And did you open the door?
Yes.
Which door?
The front door.
Front driver's door.
Front driver's.
Who was in the driver's seat?
The plaintiff.
And what did you intend to accomplish by opening up her door?
Again, not being completely rational. I was just trying to convince her to move. And
nah, that doesn't convince her to move. That could scare you if you weren't being rational, going over and opening up her car door.
Okay.
Okay.
Has accused her niece's former landlord, Lawrence Block, of damaging their personal property. Lawrence claims Wanda threatened his son and escalated the situation.
Now, tell me what happened when he got there.
When he got there, he was cussing, calling me every night.
Got it. He was angry because you were blocking his son's car.
Right.
And he had to come back there because you were moving out. There's no question that he would have come back there because you were moving out anyway, because he got a call from his house manager / your niece's roommate who had her steal property from Walmart.
Yes.
I offered her the time to come back and get the stuff. It wasn't available at the moment because I thought some of it was at another location.
There's no available. All she wanted was the hamper from the garage.
I understand.
That's what she said she wanted. That's not, it's all over the place. All she wanted was the hamper from the garage. Everything else was there and packed. She was ready to go. She just wanted the hamper. He had no authority to give her the hamper or couldn't get into the garage. He didn't know how to get into the garage. Actually, I'm sure your son said to you, if you're a smart man, well, what do they want? And I assume he said to you, they want a hamper from the garage. I assume he said that to you, or he wasn't listening. That he wasn't listening to. Did he tell you that that's what they wanted?
Not that I recall.
Okay. So now tell me what he did to your car. He opens the car door.
Opened the car door. I thought he was going to hit me. My sister and niece were scared to death. They were hysterical. Let's go. He's going to kill us, because he was out of control. And he grabbed my car door remote, slammed that door, hit my windshield, went to the back door. He had to have scratched it with this, opened that door, and threw her bags of belongings out in the street. And then, after he got his son's car out...
Well, how did he get the son's car out? He went up on the curb?
Yeah, and then he came head on at my car like he was going to hit us head on. Matter of fact, the son in the driveway kept backing up like he was going to hit my car.
Well, you should have let him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have let him out.
Yeah.
You have no right to block him in.
I know, but he should have let us in that garage.
Just a second. It's not his responsibility to let you in the garage. Let's understand each other. It's not his responsibility. He's not in charge of that house. If it was a hamper and clothes you were looking for, you'd be smart. You get your niece out of there.
Right.
You go to wherever you're going to take her, and then you make a communication. Listen, we left a hamper there. Either you get it or you don't get it. But blocking him in is not what you're legally able to do. Do you understand that? Yeah. That's why he got frustrated. There's no question about that. He handled it all wrong. You can't put your hands on her car. You can't take out the bags from the car. You can't run over them.
I did not run them over.
You can't scratch her car.
I didn't do that either.
Well, she's going to show me pictures, sir. And that's what she's and that's what she's here for. She has to convince me that you damaged property and you took property without permission.
Well, as the video shows, the bags were not thrown or sprawled out or ran over as she's claiming either.
Oh, no, she didn't say sprawled out, sir.
She said I threw
you
them.
touched somebody else's property, and you have no right to do that. You were angry. You have no right to touch her car, scare her physically. And if you threw, not gently put, the bags of stuff, oh, there's no question in my mind that if you're angry and you grabbing them out of the car, you're not grabbing them out of the car and gently putting them down. Whatever. Show me the car's damage, please.
I did not throw them.
All right. Good. Shouldn't be taking care of challenged people in your house. Should get off every list. I know it's a business and I know people have to do it, not you. Okay. Damage to the car.
Right here.
Is this the damage? Is this the
crack? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Did you have it fixed?
Yes.
I'd like to see the bill for it.
Okay.
So is what you're telling me your out-of-pocket was $250?
Yes.
Okay. To fix your car was more money, but that was your deductible, $250.
Right.
Okay. So we have $250. What else?
He took my garage door opener, so I had to buy a new one.
How much was that?
$134.95.
I didn't touch a garage door opener.
What else?
And the rental car was $366.20 that I was in while my car was getting worked on.
Just a second. Did your insurance pay for that? Yes, they had to.
Yeah.
Yes, of course they did. Because if you had a $250 deductible on your car, then there's no question in my mind that you had rental car. Okay, all right. $385, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're finished.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Court is adjourned.
That was no problem as far as her moving out. That's a normal part of the business. What was very upsetting was somebody involving my son and trapping him from being able to move.
Because what I wanted wouldn't have taken more than 30 seconds to get. I'm disabled, so I always look for the easiest route.
I do regret I was pretty fumed, but it was because, you know, that Papa Bear part of me came out, and somebody was attacking my kid in my head, so.
The way he was cussing and carrying on.
I wanted to go full force, and I went too far with verbalizing anyways.
Just screen him good.
Back three. He cannot miss. It's Harper.
A good point that this case highlighted that I actually couldn't believe that I want to look into a little bit more is that just anybody can rent or own a 5-bedroom, however many bedroom home and just open their doors and get put on a list for rooms for rent for people with real challenges or disabilities. You've been in the business longer than me, but you need a license to give a pedicure in most places. Right. So the fact that this man can just open up a home that he was renting and be put on a list as a safe haven for these people to live, secure living environment, food, shelter, all of that, to me, is kind of outrageous that you don't need any sort of check and balance or any
sort
license.
of license or government oversight.
Exactly, especially with such a class of people that require extra care and help, and I really couldn't believe that.
It's problematic because for adults who have challenges, there are so few facilities, and it's such a vulnerable population. And to force that vulnerable population into being in a place that is not carefully scrutinized by either a locality or the federal government, because very often there are federal funds that filter down into these places. It's just so monumentally sad.
All the way around.
That, It is monumentally sad.
I think the plaintiff said it best herself when asked how to avoid types of problems like these. She said you really have to screen them very well, and to put that burden on an already vulnerable population of people, I think someone else should be vetting these places.
Okay, agreed.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Megan McCarthy and Ryan Fotts are suing their former employee, Roberto Encinas, for overpayment of wages, bookkeeping fees, and loss of business income.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3048, McCarthy Fought versus Encinas.
Mr. McCarthy? Miss McCarthy. Do you run the business together? Are you related to each other?
Yes, husband and wife.
What kind of business do you have?
It's a production design and set construction company. We build sets for
Where is it located?
Van Nuys.
In California?
California, yes.
How long have you owned the business?
About 7 years.
Tell me when you hired Mr. Encinas.
We originally hired him in January of 2022.
To do what?
Welding and fabrication.
Did you have experience in that, Mr.?
Oh, yeah, 25 years.
How much were you paid when you were originally hired?
$39.75 hourly, and promised to be in the union.
$39.75 hourly.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get paid once a week?
Once a week, every Wednesday.
By check or cash?
Direct deposit.
Is that correct?
I believe it was $39.50, but yes, the rest is...
Direct deposit?
Yes.
This is what your case is about. At some point, you determined that you had overpaid Mr. Encinas. When did you discover that you were overpaying Mr. Encinas?
We discovered the error on September 22nd, 2022.
And had you been consistently overpaying him since January?
No, so it's a little bit complicated. We have two companies, one is union, one is not. In April of 22, we hired him with our non-union company to perform a different non-union job, and that is when the error occurred with that company and that payroll company. He was entered into the system incorrectly by my bookkeeper, who's here as our witness today.
Okay, it was still direct deposit.
Correct, yes.
The net that was deposited into his check when he was working in the union shop was how much?
I would estimate $1,800 to $2,000.
Well, don't estimate, that's what we're doing here.
I don't have an exact figure of how much he netted every week. It was different every week on every job.
Because he worked
different amount of hours.
Different hours. So he worked different hours. So the direct deposit was different for each time.
Sure.
So there was really no way, there were no flashing red lights that would say to Mr. Encinas, this pay stub is wrong. You know, this deposit was wrong because it wasn't a consistent amount that went in every Wednesday. It was, according to you, a different amount depending upon how many hours worked. He wasn't given a physical check. Money was put into the bank by a direct deposit. That's what you said.
That's correct.
Okay.
But if I may, it would be anywhere from $1,700 to $2,000. The first overpayment, he netted $4,645. Like, it's quite a jump in pay. Like that was probably should have been
a lot of overtime.
Just
yes, quite a difference.
Quite a difference, but that was going from one job to another, from one company to another, from a union job to a non-union company.
Rate.
Well, whatever. Okay. And so what you're suing for the overage that you paid him.
Yes.
And there came a time when you discussed the overage with him. And what did he say when you told him that he was overpaid? And when did you tell him that he was overpaid?
We told him September, the day we discovered the error, September 22nd, and it was very amicable at first. We apologized for the error. We wanted to work out a payment plan with him, and he agreed. He said, I get it. I would love to do a payment plan, and I believed him because we had a good working relationship.
And did you, in fact, draw up a payment plan that you both signed?
No, I did not.
Okay. Unusual case for me. I really am unfamiliar with the law on overpayment. Sarah, could you look up for me the California law on when an employee is overpaid by an employer? How do they and can they recoup it?
Sure. So it's California Labor Code 221. The statute describes that employers are forbidden from taking back any wages that have already been paid to employees unless there's a stipulation that the employee can agree in writing to the deduction by the employer. So if an employee consents to a set-off or a wage deduction for any reason, including overpayment by an employer, then the employer can make it, so long as it does not bring the worker below the minimum wage or the deduction does not impact the worker's final wages. But it has to be in a writing.
Okay, so you don't have a writing.
Well, we have it in an email where he did agree to a payment plan. We never formally, I didn't have my attorney draft up a formal agreement, no.
You don't have an agreement, one that he agreed to, but you started taking money out of his pay, correct?
With his knowledge, a small percentage.
Doesn't matter. You started taking money out of his pay when?
He was working for us at the time when we caught the error.
No, in September.
September, the third week of September.
And at that time, how much do you allege that he was overpaid?
$6,595.41.
And what did you start to take out of his pay?
It was $276 that first time.
Where did you come up with that number?
I would have to refer to my bookkeeper, Danny. I don't exactly remember. It says 7 hours, less 7 hours. That wasn't his full paycheck. It was a small percentage of what he was making that week.
You're the bookkeeper?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you stand up for one moment? What is your name?
Danny White.
Mr. White, the first time that you gave Mr. Encinas a direct deposit for less than his pay, how much was the direct deposit for?
I don't have the total amount of what it was for. He would have been making around $1,800, and I took $296.
With his knowledge, we informed him, obviously.
I don't care what you informed him about. You understood what the law is. I'm sure that you must have spoken to an attorney also. Did you not?
I don't believe
Well, you should have, because where you live, you can't just take money out of somebody's salary if you overpay them. How many deductions did you make from his pay before he left?
2.
And then he left?
The job ended.
Well, he had been working for you for a while, so the job ended. Did you fire him?
Megan McCarthy and Ryan Fox claim their former employee, Roberto Encinas, is refusing to pay back the wages they overpaid him.
Well, he had been working for you for a while, so the job ended. Did you fire him?
No.
You just said goodbye.
The job was complete. We did the build and we sent it to the client, and then that job was over. So.
Well, I know, but he had been working for you January and February and March, April, May, June, July, August, September, I'm sure on different jobs. Would that be a fair statement? He worked on different jobs. But in September, when this overpayment was noticed, the job was over and so was he.
Correct.
So he didn't leave you. According to what you just told me, he didn't leave you. You said goodbye, the job's over.
Yeah, correct. I had every intention of working with him again. We had a good working relationship. I thought we were going to be able to work out a payment plan and figure it out together.
Okay. Well, sorry, but you can't. Thank you, Mr. White. Okay. You have a whole bunch of reasons why you shouldn't owe them the money. One of them is they were supposed to get you into a union shop and you didn't, and so that's why you don't owe them money. Bottom line is the statute protects you. But one of the problems that I see when you have a direct deposit, your problem is that according to you, his pay varied every week because sometimes he worked 7 hours, sometimes he worked 15 hours, and so his pay would vary depending upon how much was billed for that week. Well, it depends upon how carefully someone reviews their direct deposit. You know, if you review your direct deposit and you have money coming in to a checking account and going out, you don't watch it that carefully over a relatively short period of time, because it was a relatively short period of time. And the law protects Mr. Encinas from you recouping that money unless he agrees to it. And the agreement has to be in writing. Is that what you just told me the law is in California?
That is the Labor Code 221.
Yeah. I'm not particularly sympathetic with you, Ms. McCarthy, because under the circumstances, if you had given him a check, if your bookkeeper handed him a check, and he used to get $2,000, and then all of a sudden he changed jobs and he was getting $4,000, he would say, oh my goodness. But I can understand how you can miss that for a month or two and not notice that in your checking account. And that's why the law is there to protect him. And it does. It protects him from your lawsuit. We're done. Thank you very much. Case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I'm a little disappointed, very disappointed actually.
They made a mistake.
I thought that I had done my homework and looked it up, and whatever I read said that he owed me the money back.
Because I did all the hours that they put down on the paperwork.
No, I think it was stealing. After 6 months of him ignoring my phone calls and not replying and saying he was going to make payments and he just wouldn't, yeah, it felt like it was stealing.
I did not get free money.
Yeah, if you're given money that isn't yours, give it back.
The statute is meant to protect the employee from the employers removing money for things like insurance or tax deductions. So that's why there needs to be a signed writing to say I'm opting into insurance, or, you know, I'm going to file my own taxes, all of that minutia that you have to deal with employers. But it does say that if you agree in writing to a deduction as the employee,
as a clawback,
that's okay. But here, as we saw very clearly, there was no signed writing. But the way I read the statute was that that had to be in writing in order to protect the employee.
It just looks like it can't be a unilateral determination of how much you're going to take out.
Sure.
Also, I found interesting, and I really believe this because somebody who gets direct deposits from other things, I don't look every week to see whether the direct deposit has been made. I'll call once a month or I'll wait and get my statement. But what she said was, and you know, math is not our strong suit, she was suing for $6,000.
Mm-hmm.
And what she said was he was overpaid by $2,000 a paycheck, which means there were only 3 paychecks that he would have been overpaid, which is really very easy to miss, but very easy to spend. If you look on your phone and you see you have so much money in your bank and you spend it, what are you supposed to do?
But he had a good explanation for why it wasn't that far off from his usual. He had put in extra time on his time cards for overtime and things of that nature. So I agree with you that 3 payments for a little bit more than what you were used to, I don't think would have raised a red flag.
Because he may not have looked.
Sure.
It was interesting because I didn't get from the papers that they let him go.
I didn't either. That came
I
out
thought that he just stopped working from reading the papers because they started to take money out of his check. And then she acknowledged that, well, the job ended.
Yeah.
Well, many jobs that he had ended because they have jobs since January, 8 months.
I picked up on that.
After this one, they let him go.
Follow the rules if you want to get your money back.
Xin chào mọi người, chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Đến với video hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn mọi người tô màu cho bức tranh có hình ngọn hải đăng nha, và ngôi nhà. Và trước tiên mình sẽ tô màu cho ngôi nhà trước nha. Mình sẽ dùng màu đỏ để tô màu mái nhà. Tô mái xong thì mình sẽ tô màu của tường nhà. Mình dùng màu vàng đậm để tô nha. Cửa nhà thì mình sẽ tô màu nâu. Tiếp theo đó là màu khói. Mình sẽ lấy màu xám để tô. Tiếp theo đó là tô màu cho ngọn hải đăng. Thì trước tiên mình sẽ lấy màu đen để tô những ô gạch này nha. Tiếp theo là mình lấy màu xám để tô ngọn hải đăng này nha. Tiếp theo mình sẽ lấy màu đỏ để tô ở phần mái. Tiếp theo là mình lấy màu vàng để tô đèn ở trên ngọn hải đăng nha. Với thảm cỏ ở dưới này thì mình sẽ dùng màu xanh là cây để tô. Và như vậy đó là mình đã hoàn thành xong được bức tranh này rồi nha. Và như vậy là mình đã hướng dẫn mọi người tô màu xong bức tranh có hình ngôi nhà và ngọn hải đăng rồi nha. Mọi người thấy bức tranh của mình có đẹp không? Nếu như mọi người thấy đẹp thì hãy cho mình một like và một nút đăng ký kênh. Và cảm ơn mọi người đã theo dõi video của mình ngày hôm nay. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người những video sau.